jumped 12%. They have a 90-day reprieve. Sue, you've been busy in a studio. I don't know if you followed all this afternoon, but it has been a very, very interesting day. And, obviously we were down to 38,000 in the market, way up today because of the pause. President Trump is actually in the Oval Office right now. He's signing some executive orders. He may answer more questions about the tariffs. And by the way, we're going to get to Tashara Jones getting her ass kicked in this election, but this is kind of happening right now. And here's Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary.
Great courage for him to stay the course until this moment. And what we have ended up with here, as I told everyone a week ago, they're in this very spot, do not retaliate and you will be rewarded. Every country in the world who wants to come and negotiate, we are willing to hear you. We're going to go down to a 10% baseline tariff for them, and China will be raised to 125 due to their insistence on escalation.
Yeah, so China's going back and forth right now, and you kind of said the number is 125.
China is the most imbalanced economy in the history of the modern world, and they are the biggest source of the U.S. trade problems. And indeed, they are problems for the rest of the world.
So, and I think this is where Bessent sort of talks about maybe the trap here.
And all this was, again, this was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. And that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors. And we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
So, yeah, and it looks like all of this is really a move to deal with China before having to deal with China a little bit later. But that's interesting today. And we'll, if we've been encouraging some patience with all this, and there's been a lot of panic. I've even admitted that I'm a bit of a panicking, but things have swung back very strongly in another direction. We'll certainly track that. We have Brian Kilmeade coming up this afternoon in just a little bit. Well, Sue, I was giving you the early numbers last night, and then the final tally, even the absentee votes made it very clear what was going to happen in this election. And here's Tish last night after the loss.
This campaign was powered by the people and was a movement of people. I'm so proud to have run this race because I ran it not for me, but for you.
Well, if we're being honest, it wasn't a movement of very many people because you got your ass handed to you, 65 to 35%. And then she said this.
So my opponent will inherit a city that is safer than it has been in decades.
Are you kidding me? Wait a second, no. That's, there's so many things this afternoon that I could use the Kenny Wallace laugh on, but let's start there.
Isn't that great?
And then there's Kara Spencer last night.
Today, St. Louis voted for change.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, and we're going to get change. I'm just not sure exactly what kind of change. But the other thing that's interesting, and I wasn't as confident even though she was, our Reardon Roundtable veteran, Donna Behringer, who wins the race against Darlene Green. She's on the line with us this afternoon.
Yay!
Donna, congratulations. I know how hard you work. You were just out there every day knocking on doors, very confident. So congratulations on the victory.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.
Well, I want you to kind of put this into perspective a little bit, how important this, outside of what happened with Kara, but how important this race was, because this will have an impact on the finances for the city of St. Louis.
Yes. The comptroller sits on the board of E&A, which is estimate and apportionment, and it is one of the three votes that decide everything fiscally, financially for the city, the budget, if we're going to have the Rams money go one way. So I told people, I said, then the second part of the comptroller's job is that they are actually the bank for the city. They're in charge of all financing for every single department. They sign off on all real estate transactions. Everything has to have a signature of the comptroller's office. So I told people this is an important race. I want people to know that we need to, as we've been saying, we need to let people know that we want to move our city forward. And I don't want any more hurdles in place. And the other key thing is the airport. It's one of our biggest assets. And I will be at those meetings. And I will also be asking Jefferson City to help us because we're going to get a state-of-the-art airport. And I know that Kansas City just had theirs done, and I know that it's something that's going to happen, and I will be doing everything in my power to make it run smoothly and quickly.
Well, we have an embarrassing airport, so I'm glad to hear that that's a priority. You realized relatively early, though, I think, in the campaign when you were knocking on doors and talking to people that change was certainly in the air, didn't you?
I did. So from January until the primary, I had been door knocking nonstop, and people were all saying the exact same thing to me. So I knew people were looking for this. So that I knew. Now, I never knew I was going to win the race. What I was doing was feeling confident that people were going to come out. So it did kind of scare me in March because the numbers were so low, but that wasn't the case this time.
Yeah, so what were the numbers compared to March? Because was it more than, 21% or even more than that?
I'm going to be honest with you, Mark. I have not read the paper.
I don't blame you.
You're the only phone call I've taken. And
well, I feel honored by that.
So,
yeah, I'll look
okay.
into that, and I'm curious because I thought I saw maybe more people voted than maybe I expected. Look, I know you're tired. We're going to let you get some rest. I'm glad you checked in with us. You know, the path that a member of the Reardon Roundtable takes, there's two of them, Donna. You either go to federal prison or you advance in your career like Eric Schmidt. I think you're taking the latter, so that's good. We'll root for you. And congratulations. We'll keep talking about these important issues. So thank you very much.
No,
Congrats, Donna.
Yes.
Except we've lost her on the round table now.
Well, I don't know. If we lost you on the round table, can we still have you on the round table? That's a curious. Yeah, we can't. Okay. All right. Good.
Good.
Absolutely. Take care. Yeah, because we don't want to lose more people.
Oh,
certainly
my
on that
gosh.
side. We don't have enough anyway.
The word in the city was that Donna Behringer, and I know that we all know her, but she is a seriously hard worker. And I would hear this from both sides of the aisle. The thing about Donna is she will work and do it for the people, which is a nice change.
It's that Parkway West Longhorn spirit. That's what it is, Sue. All right. Well, that was great. And, you know, let me kind of go back to the mayor's race real quick here because, and I addressed this yesterday, I'm very excited that Tish is going because it just needed to happen. This was an epic collapse. We'll talk about it a little bit later with Jeff Smith in the 5 o'clock hour. I was communicating with Jane last night. By the way, Fred, I do not have the right. This is last Wednesday's, I think. Isn't it? I have the wrong one. Somehow I grabbed last Wednesday's.
Well, here you go.
No, I have it. Oh, I know what happened. They wrote it on.
over.
You wrote it
Okay.
on the back of that.
Yep.
Sorry.
Do you have another one? I'll take the other one.
Yeah, take that
Thanks.
other one.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Look, she was a disaster. She was terrible. This was an epic collapse. I was having a little fun on Twitter last night. You remember the headlines when Corey and Kim Gardner and Tashar were swept into office. Black girl magic. Well, poof, just like that. They're all gone. Now, and also just like that, they're going to blame racism on everything. Vervis, or as Jane calls him, Virus Jones, the mayor's dad, deleted his Twitter account last night. Something tells me he'll be back because he's going to want to lay into people and blame race, etc. But, you know, somebody reminded me this morning that Kara's also the person that sued or tried to force a lawsuit when it came to renovations at Enterprise Center. So I'm under no, I get that this is going to be right. Because, look, and I've heard from a lot of people on Twitter along those lines, too. She's still kind of a socialist and a progressive, and there's a lot of things that we're not going to agree with. However, I just have to have hope because a lot of people are saying, well, it's not going to be any better. I have to have hope that it's going to be better because I addressed this yesterday. One, she says city services are the priority. They have to be the priority. Why in the world they were not the priority with this administration, I have no idea. But they learned the hard way. When it comes to other things in the city, though, I think we're going to have, we're going to have to see where she's going to go, and I don't know where that's going to take us. I think that Donna, philosophically, is a little different than Kara Spencer, right? She's more moderate. What will that particular position and her relationship with Kara and the Board of Aldermen actually mean for the city? Look, what I want is the city to move forward. It's not. It's moving backward. Economic development is not moving forward. We do have some projects that in theory might take place, like the new Cordish development down, near Ballpark Village at the Millennium Hotel. I'm still wondering if any of that's going to happen because you have to realize those are developers that are going to want tax benefits, right? Well, is that something that the city is going to be able to offer up? I don't know. Donna just talked about it with the airport as well. You're going to have to work with the state. So some of this down the road is going to get very complicated. But how about we just start with this? Maybe not being embarrassed that we live or we reside in this region and in the city of St. Louis. So we're not the national joke when it comes to crime and things like that. That Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, the second worst mayor in the country, the first worst just got kicked out last night, that he comes to our city to campaign for that mayor. I mean, that was so representative and symbolic of where we are, wasn't it?
Not a clue.
Yep, but thank goodness. I was hoping she'd go a little nuttier last night to Shara. She didn't really.
Yeah, you wanted to see the wig off.
Hey, there's still time for that. All right, Kilmeade's coming up here this afternoon. I have some amazing media bias stuff. This Jim Vanderhei, who's with Axios. Now, I should mention this. Alex Thompson, the guy from Axios, who's writing the book with Jake Tapper. Why Jake Tapper's involved, I have no idea. But Alex Thompson was a guy, and I had followed him over the years, that was out there in front of all the rest of the media when it came to Biden's mental deficiencies. On the other hand, Jim Vanderhei is not, and he's the guy that runs Axios, and he's out there on podcasts talking about media bias and how the media lost its way, when basically he was one of the people leading the media that lost their way. So that's pretty good. We'll get to that. We have Alex Rich in the 4 o'clock hour. I have what I think, and I don't think I'm going to undersell this, Sue. I have an amazing audio story to tell in the next hour. It was an article that I found this morning in the LA Times. It's quite fascinating, and it involves payphones and messages that are being left from payphones in Los Angeles. It's a little complicated when we get started, but I have audio samples that Ethan helped me pull this afternoon, and it's going to be extremely compelling. I know you guys are going to love it. I think the audience is going to love it because it's very different, and it's unique, and the audio and the emotion that you're going to hear from people, young people, older people. I'll set this up a little bit better in the 4 o'clock hour, but you're not going to want to miss that because it'll be good. I have confidence in that. Fred, what else we got? We have Adam Ellwanger, who is down at the University of Houston, and we're going to talk about some things related to Donald Trump when it comes to communication. And I think, by the way, that's going to be extremely well timed for today, given where we are with the tariffs. By the way, he's still going with executive orders right now in the Oval Office as well. And then Jeff Smith, former state senator, executive director of the Missouri Workforce Housing Association. He is also a roundtable veteran. He'll weigh in on everything relating to the elections. By the way, I didn't mention this. Prop B went down in the county, didn't it?
Yeah.
The county did not have a lot of participation when it came to, I don't know. Look, I had mixed feelings on that thing. I voted for it, but I did have some mixed feelings. My bottom line was, look, I know that there's other municipalities in the area that have the ability to have 5 of 7 people say, wait, we don't want Sam Page to, not fire this person. That's essentially what it was. It was kind of wrestling some control away from the county executive. Even James Knowles, who is the mayor of Ferguson, came on last week and was not a big proponent of that. All right, we're off and running here on a Wednesday edition of the Mark Reardon Show. Brian Kilmeade's coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We do have some volume out there. Of course, the road work continues eastbound 5564, coming off the Poplar Street Bridge to Trendley Avenue in East St. Louis. They've got lanes down, and the jam already has started, I should say, and that's eastbound 6440. Eastbound 44, both headed for the bridge, are jammed. And extra volume on the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. Southbound 55 slowing south of Arsenal. Down through, it looks like, just about Bates. 44 westbound slowing at 270. Southbound 270 slow pockets from Page down through 44. And out west, 70 has some moderate volume at K and at Wentzville. 64 isn't that bad, but it is a little slow at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. This report brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic, 97.1 FM Talk.
See, that water is not quite coming down in my neck of the woods. In fact,
No?
I just saw it get higher and higher. Well, because there's this area, I don't know the road, but if you go down Gravois, and I'm having to take Gravois because of the road closure anyway, but if you head, let's say you're going west toward 141, the first street before you get to that, it's where Tapawingo Golf Course is, and it's like Sunset Hills. Well, when I passed that by yesterday, that water was not up and that road wasn't closed, but then today it was.
Okay.
So
Well,
the crest is supposed to happen, though, today, isn't it?
Yes, and they're supposed to have that 141 opened by rush hour tomorrow morning.
Right.
That's their hope.
And I think it's pretty optimistic because the water didn't get quite as high as we anticipated, so that's good news. But we'll keep you, posted on that as we move along here this afternoon. I want to talk about the Show Me Institute. And this is exciting. I didn't even know this, but we are always visiting. In fact, I think it was yesterday that we visited with Ilya Shapiro, and Ilya's coming to be part of an event with the Show Me Institute, which is going to be exciting. We'll keep telling you about that as well. But the Show Me Institute is a group that really has the ability to educate you as they do a lot of people here in St. Louis. It's a think tank that is really based on free market and principles. I'm sure they have some thoughts on everything that's going on with the tariffs right now. Brenda Talent is the executive director. She is, of course, the wife of former United States Senator Jim Talent. They have Missouri school rankings on their website. So they're a great resource for a bunch of different issues, tax-related, education-related, business-related. You can always find out more at showmeinstitute.org. That's showmeinstitute.org.
Stop everything you're doing right now and ask yourself, are you currently receiving steady paychecks? What about when you're retired? Will you receive a monthly check to cover your expenses and also have some fun? Marvin Mitchell and the team at Compass Retirement Solutions calls this mailbox money. It's a monthly check you'll receive throughout retirement. They don't want you to worry about if the money will show up or how much money you'll receive. The only thing they want you to think about is how to spend it when it arrives. Find out how to get enough money in your mailbox every month when you're retired. Call Marvin Mitchell and the Compass Retirement Solutions team at 314-373-1598 to start working on a plan that can help you create the monthly income you'll need in retirement. Call 314-373-1598 right now and schedule a visit with Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois.
Who has the most 5-star reviews in St. Louis? Is the Post-Dispatch Window Retailer of the Year, J.D. Power Award winner 5 years in a row, and has the nation's best warranty coverage? Renewal by Anderson, that's who. Take advantage of our great April sale. Buy one window, entry door, or patio door, and get the next 50% off with 0 payments and 0 interest for 12 months. Check it out at rbastl.com or call 314-332-1924. Renewal by Anderson, a better way to a better window.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. Selling your home, every situation is unique. Find the best options that are right for you from the real estate team who offer more options. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Registration is now open for Cinco de Kilometer 5K Fun Walk to benefit improvements to Creve Coeur Lake Memorial Park. The walk will take place at Creve Coeur Lake Memorial Park on Friday, May 2nd at 6 p.m. The 5K walk will begin at the Tremaine Shelter located in the Sailboat Cove at 13725 Marine Avenue. Register by April 24th to receive a discounted registration fee and a commemorative 5K t-shirt. All walkers will be provided with a bib number and free drink after the walk. To register, visit stlcpf.org/5K walk.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show at 326, sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Wiggins America.
Why does the far left go around drawing swastikas on everything? They're drawing them on signs and shirts, cars.
Saturdays from 7 to 8 a.m. and Sundays from 7 to 8 p.m. Spend your weekend in Wiggins America.
I ran out of time chasing foolish pleasure. Now I wanna overindulge.
All right, just a quick traffic note because we've been talking about the situation, which really is in my neck of the woods, 141 and 44 underneath the highway there. It's been closed, but now we think it's reopened soon.
Oh, it has been.
Okay.
And they did northbound first, and they were out doing southbound, just kind of waiting, but it was more water. But I just looked, and it's all open.
Well, that's going to help a lot because when I was heading out there, I mean, the 270 exit to go, I guess that's south, was just all jammed up. Then you get to Bowles, and that was all jammed up as well. So that's good news for, selfishly, folks who live where I do. I have this unbelievable media bias audio that I'm going to share here in just a minute, but we have Brian Kilmeade on the line for his weekly visit. Brian, how are you this afternoon?
What's going on, Mark? How are you?
Well, I'm good. We had a pretty amazing thing happen here yesterday, just to put it on your radar. I honestly think if the news cycle was a little lighter than this, it might make national news. But we had, Corey Bush here in St. Louis. We had Kim Gardner, the prosecutor. I know you know probably her story. We had Tashara Jones. They were all ushered in the same election in 2020. It was considered black girl magic, Brian. That's what they called it. And Tashara Jones, our mayor, has just been kicked off. So the trifecta of those elected officials here in St. Louis, we have voted for change in the city, and it's really quite amazing. There was an incumbent comptroller for 30 years that went down to another person named Donna Berenger, who's a regular on my show. So pretty historic in St. Louis, actually.
Good. Hopefully people are sobering up.
Well, I think they are. And you know what happened? One of the things that happened during this, who our mayor who just got her ass kicked brought to town, Brian, to campaign and to try to convince voters that she was the right candidate? She brings in Brandon Johnson from Chicago. I mean, you can't even make this stuff up.
Biggest loser, most ineffective, radical around. I think he's got 18% approval rating. I don't know if that's even possible.
Well, that's kind of where Tashara was here in this city. But let's talk about what's going on in the rest of the world. There's been interesting movement on Wall Street today, hasn't there? Wow.
I haven't noticed. Yeah. Well, what do you say? Why do you bring up business? I have no idea. I mean, obviously he put a pause on, and the pause has resulted in, just like everyone thought, a rocket ship. The market's over 40,000. And everybody except China. And China's urging everybody to leave us. So this is getting bad. I mean, they have soldiers in Ukraine fighting against Ukrainians, fighting for Russia. Russia's really ignoring our peace overtures, sincere effort we're making. And then China is basically, keep on going back and forth on tariffs. So we're getting to the heart of it. And the president's got 60 or 90 days to cut 75 deals, which most likely all will be better for us.
Yeah, he seems to indicate, and Scott Besson, they've all indicated that there's a lot of phone calls that are coming in, and you would imagine that there would be. But it also appears like a lot of this is forcing the rest of the world to basically make a decision here on China or the U.S. So I don't know if it was technically setting a trap, but it was a bit of a trap, wasn't it? At least that's how it appears right now.
Yeah, I'm just happy when Scott Besson is talking and not when Peter Navarro is talking and Mark Lutnick. He's very loyal to the president, but Scott Besson is the one that could actually, like Steve Mnuchin, really calms the markets, understands the president, but also when he has to make a move. And I think the president listens to him. When I see Peter Navarro, I just see a total fraud. And I just think that he has got to go.
Well, yeah, so then that kind of walks me into the question, what do you make about the dust-up between Elon and Peter Navarro? My guess would be you kind of take Elon's position on this.
Look, he's seen him behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And he says he's a knucklehead. And the fact is he starts defining Tesla's business to the guy that created it. Really? He's a car assembler. He's not a car maker. Really? Do you have any idea what he did to make that car? How he designed it using F-150, Formula Ones, and use that and put the technology. He knows every inch of that car. But what happens is there's certain things we don't make. So he makes it in America. We got to import certain parts, Japanese batteries, things of that nature. Doesn't make you a car assembler. And you are a car maker. GM, everybody's a car assembler. Unless you have a ratchet, and you're doing it yourself, it definitely has to come from parts have to go from other places, which makes this whole trade war complex. But what kind of idiot are you to shoot inside the tent in a time like this? And that's where Peter Navarro goes on the shows over the weekend and says, we don't want any deals. The president said he wants a deal. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that doesn't help with the mixed messaging. I think that's not help. By the way, have you seen, Brian, the numbers for Tesla and how down he is right now? And I don't know where that's going to take him with Doge, but those are pretty significant hits.
Yeah, he's not that much lower than he was before Trump won the election, when Tesla just boomed because of his access to the president. So I think it'll steady. The main thing is with Tesla, I think when things calm down and these idiots stop targeting the cars, is the breaks you're getting for buying electric cars, the mandates in these states that made you buy an electric cars. Trump is going to ease off on all that. And if the next president is a Republican, the same thing. So you can't honestly say that things look as bright because we're not going to be as forced to go buy them. But if you want an electric car, there's none better. China's put together something. They probably robbed a lot of the technology from Tesla, and they have something. They'll never be seen. They've flooded every market. They'll never be on our roads. But that's what I think is going to hurt Tesla the most. But for the most part, he might be buying Tesla less for the cars, more for the robots. Go on their website. Look at these robots. Understand what they can do and where they're heading. And it's not just to work in manufacturing. These are full-time nurses' aides for seniors. These are aides, for parents, single parents. I mean, you got to see what these robots can do. That's where Tesla's future more than likely is.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. I mean, there's a lot of I've been kind of hiding in the dark, Sue. I don't know, on some of the technology, like even with some of the AI stuff on Apple. I don't know. I'm a little intimidated by it, but the future is quite something. This has also, Brian, been a pretty good week for the president when it comes to the courts and rulings. And I think a lot of people may be rooting against him on the other side on that. But the Supreme Court came in without the help of Amy Coney Barrett and really helped in this deportation issue and beyond this week.
Yeah, I mean, that helped. You don't have to go get that guy back from El Salvador, number one. Number two, the whole Aliens Act gets to stand. It's going to be relevant. Stop picking the courts. You had no business in Washington, D.C. with this court case. You had been brought to you in Texas. That's what the Supreme Court brought up. So no jurisdiction there. So I think the president's got, and also he's got the ability to get rid of 16,000 new hires he deemed as unnecessary to keep our federal workforce low and keep it back into the private sector. So that'll be a help. Obviously, I say that not to be callous for the 16,000 that no longer are employed, but that's what the administration wants to do. That's how they budgeted it out. Now at least they get to do what they want. The federal government should be controlled by the federal president. So I'm not really sure what a district court who was appointed by Barack Obama, how this judge feels as though they can make these policies, but hopefully these things are solving themselves.
Am I hearing, Fred told me this, I don't know much about it, you might know more, that Trump is meeting with the leaders of Iran this weekend?
Saturday in Oman. And it's going to be Witkoff. I'd feel better if it was Rubio. It's going to be Witkoff meeting in Iran, with Iran in Oman. So I have no idea why this real estate guy is doing all these deals, but he's not really getting anything done because he doesn't have any experience, doesn't know the history. I mean, you got to give it, you hire a Secretary of State for a reason. So I would prefer he be in there.
Whoop, we lost him there. That was one of those things where the line just dropped, right?
Yeah, I heard it.
Well, I think we're probably, I don't know, we'll see if Ethan can get him back on here, because when that happens, I'm not sure if we're going to get him back. But that's okay, because I was going to kind of wrap with him here in a second. I did want to hear what was on his show for this weekend. I'll fill a little bit of time just in case we can get him back on the air. We have Sue's News coming up in the next hour. By the way, I've had this Diet Coke topic that has been on my mind for a couple of days. I keep telling Fred to put on the program sheet, it says the fall of Diet Coke. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but I'll get to that when our friend Alex Rich joins us in the next hour. Adam Ellwanger after 5 o'clock. He's a professor of English at the University of Houston. He's been a guest on the show before. He's the editor of something called the Peerless Review. And he wrote a great piece on the president's communication and how that gets mangled from time to time. Brian, do we have you back? We just kind of lost you there. Just dropped.
Yeah.
What's coming up on Sunday night? I didn't get a chance to ask you that. What's coming up on the show?
Tom Cotton, Jimmy Fallon will be definitely on with us. We're going to have the Food Babe talk about what the big march was towards the Maha movement. As you saw, that RFK went to 3 separate states, and he's trying to streamline and make our food better. He also made a couple of big decisions. One, Ozempic and Mounjaro is not going to be financed by healthcare, by health insurance. That's interesting. Medicare, Medicaid. We're going to talk about that with them. And John Taffer is going to be on with us to tell about the real economy, how restaurants are dealing with everything, and he'll bring his own great personality to it. So it's going to be fun Sunday, 9 o'clock your time.
On the topic of Jimmy, I have to mention this. I saw his tweet this morning. This was one of my favorites. I know that Stephen A. Smith wants to run as a Democrat in 2028, but he's going to have a tough time beating the front-runner, Luigi Mangione. It's
pretty funny.
Sad, very sad, but true. Brian Kilmeade, thanks a lot. Thanks for checking back in with us. I appreciate it.
Go get him more.
All right, take care. 3:36. I have amazing media bias information to share coming up next. And it's very hypocritical on the part of this guy from Axios, but we'll highlight all that and illustrate coming up next.
If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
141 is open underneath 44. Now, they were going to have this done by tomorrow morning at rush hour, but apparently it receded quicker than they thought, and that's great news for drivers in that area. In fact, we already look better. If obviously on 141 we look better, but westbound 44, just some moderate volume around Bowles, and then it opens up. It's also slowing at 270, but that's the usual volume. Now, where we have a jam is this endless ongoing road work. Okay, this is supposed to be the last day of it. Eastbound 5564 on the Illinois side, coming off the Poplar Street Bridge. They've had a couple lanes down for emergency bridge deck repairs. It's already created a jam on 6440 to Jefferson, and I mean a parking lot. 44 is back past Jefferson. And we've got extra volume on the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. Westbound 40, a slow go. Kings Highway out through McCausland. 70 isn't bad, a little slow at K and at Wentzville. And if you're southbound on 270, slow pockets Page through 44. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, unfortunately, the Cardinals lost to Pittsburgh today in extra innings. It was actually interesting. It was a game that looked like it was going to only last 2 hours, and then it went almost 3.5 because of extra innings. But look, this is important because Underdog Fantasy is now something you can download and play in Missouri. And if you're a baseball fan, which we are here, despite some challenges of our franchise in St. Louis, want to take a swing at making some entries on the Champions game on Underdog with baseball, you can do it. And you don't have to just do baseball. If you're hockey fans, we know we love the Blues as well. You can do some with the NHL, with baseball, mix and match with any sport that's out there that's active. We're going to have to wait a little while on football. I do think you can do the XFL, though. And all you have to do when you play, first download the app, pick a username, a password. You're going to have to put a little cash in there. When you do that, I'm going to get a promo code to you here, and that's going to unlock a special offer. But when you play the Champions game, if you've never done something like this, super easy. You just pick whether a player is going to go higher or lower on one of their stats. Home runs, hits, strikeouts. You can create entries, as I indicated, with all baseball, or you can mix and match. And you can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. And who doesn't want to do that? So download the Underdog app, sign up using the promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R. That unlocks a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus credits. When you make that first deposit, join in on the fun. Do it today. Use the promo code MARKR. Claim your special offer. Get up to $1,000 in bonus credits instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
Hurt in an accident, you need a law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, Onder Law has been winning for St. Louis. With over $5 billion in negotiated settlements and over $300 million in verdicts, Onder wins. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row, Onder wins. Whether it's settlements, verdicts, or awards, Onder wins. If you've been hurt in a car accident, trucking accident, or hurt on the job, Onder Law will get you the money you deserve. At Onder Law, winning is what we do. So when the stakes are high, Onder wins. Call us today for a free consultation. We don't get paid unless we win for you. Dial 314 or 6189-MILLION. That's 314 or 6189, then all zeros. Or visit us online at onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Can you hold on to stocks to qualify for a lower tax bracket? I'm Taylor Riggs, co-host of The Big Money Show with your Fox Business Tax Tip. Holding on to your winning investments for longer than 1 year could potentially reduce your tax burden. If you make money on an investment and sell it within 1 year, you have to pay short-term capital gains taxes, which is similar to your ordinary income tax rate between 10 and 37%. However, if you hold on to the winning investment for longer than 1 year, TurboTax estimates that high-income taxpayers could save as much as 17% because profits on long-term investments are taxed at a lower rate. Taylor Riggs, Fox News.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Thursday, can we beat low voter turnout by moving these April elections to November? We'll talk to Senator Nick Schroer at 7:35.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
She's a fire sign, and I don't really know what that means. I'm a cold night, and I want to be close to the heat. I don't want to get burned. I don't want love like that. But I can't go any further till it start coming back.
Ethan likes this song a lot, so I was going to play a little bit. I don't usually use this one with the first half of the song. I usually just use the back half at 3:20. The band is called The Beaches. But Ethan told me, he goes, I like that one. I want you to use it outside of the first segment. So I did that for my producer here this afternoon.
Very thoughtful.
He's going to join us in the next hour, too. He pulled this audio that I want to share. It's really a cool story I found in the LA Times, and it relates to payphones. That's all I'm going to say right now.
That's intriguing.
There aren't a lot of payphones that exist, right? Somebody came up with a very interesting, unique idea to put payphones to work, and it's kind of catching on with some people. So I have really compelling, emotional audio that I will share in the next hour, and we'll get to some of that with Alex Rich from Y98. We have Adam Ellwanger in the next hour to talk a lot about some of the things that happened with President Trump in communication and how people misunderstand some of these things. Certainly, I was one of those people in the past, if you go back 8 years. And then Jeff Smith's going to weigh in on the mayor's race at 5:25. So there's a podcast out there with a guy by the name of Jim Vanderhei. Jim Vanderhei is one of the big shots over at Axios. He's the founder of Axios. Now, Axios is not really a right-wing outlet. It is more of a left-wing outlet. However, one thing I must say, and I think we even talked about this yesterday a little bit, is Alex Thompson from Axios, who wrote this book with Jake Tapper that's about to come out. There's two. There's Fight, and then there's this other one that goes into what happened in the last few years. Alex Thompson was a guy that was out there that was sort of leading the charge in this, and quite candidly, other people ignored him. But what's interesting here is that Jim Vanderhei, who certainly may now want to claim like, oh, yeah, I was just as interested in this as, my reporter Alex Thompson was. Well, he wasn't, and I'm going to offer some proof of that here in just a second. But he goes on this podcast, and he's talking about, let's talk about media bias. How did the trust in the American media really happen? Now, this is something that I've been talking about for literally almost 30 years. Bernie Goldberg, former CBS veteran news guy, wrote a book in 1997 or 1998 called Bias and exposed a lot of this stuff. And I've literally been talking about media bias for decades. Now, it's gotten a lot worse. We know. But Jim Vanderhei has some theories about this. I'm going to share those with you, and then we'll reveal some of the hypocrisy here in a second.
I feel like the trust really started to shatter over the last decade. And I look at it as in three phases. The first was the creation of Twitter. What happened with Twitter is people forget, like now it's a lot of conservative voices, a lot of independent voices. It was a hotbed of liberal groupthink for a long time. And it was the first time since I've been in this business that I would get on a feed and I would see reporters who I had trusted, who I had admired, making it crystal clear what their views were, what side they were on. You could tell in what they were tweeting, and you could tell in who they were following and who was following them.
So that was an interesting point, because when I first heard this audio, I disagreed with him on the first part about how Twitter was this, liberal bastion play. Maybe it was, but you had to follow those people to be. I didn't follow people like that. I followed people that I was interested in, and some of them were liberals. But I loved Twitter from the beginning because you can share a bunch of content. I thought that people were very creative. I still think a lot of people are very creative, whether they do it on Instagram or TikTok, even though I don't have TikTok, or Twitter, because there's this creativity out there that was untapped before social media. Now, there's a lot of bad things about social media. Don't get me wrong, but there are aspects of it, even Twitter, that I still like today. But his point about the reporters being exposed is very interesting. I've had a little fun here in the past year with what's her name over at Channel 5, the Asian anchor who's proud of herself because someone took a shot at what's her name. I don't even know. She blocked me on Twitter. Michelle Lee. Okay, but the criticism I had of Michelle was that she had her identifiers on her Twitter handle. Guess where those have gone, Sue, after the election?
Nowhere.
Bye-bye. They've
Really?
gone. But my point was, and this is what I tried to say to the news director over there, Art Holliday, who went to my alma mater, the University of Missouri Journalism School. I said, how can you have a reporter who is covering alphabet mafia issues, right, the trans issue here in St. Louis? How can that reporter be unbiased when they are declaring allegiance? And by the way, Michelle Lee didn't just have her identifiers. In a response tweet to me, she said, I proudly stand with the LGBTQIA LMNOP community. Wait a second. How can you fairly report on anything related? The answer, this is rhetorical, ladies and gentlemen, you can't, right? You cannot. But isn't it interesting that the identifiers are down? They were so important 6 months ago, Michelle. What happened? So Vanderhei's point on that is, I think, rather important. Yeah, there were a lot of people out there. It wasn't too tough to find out where they were coming from.
So I thought that was stage one, because at least before any bias people had, they hid from the public. Now it was in somewhat full view. Then came along kind of the COVID, defund the police, word policing, where I think a lot of Americans were looking around and be like, that just doesn't sit right with me. And it doesn't, and the way it's being covered didn't sit right with them.
The way it's being covered, well, you weren't covering it. You guys never covered the trans issue until Jamie Reed came along here in St. Louis. That really was a big turning point. But even today, the sports media, ESPN's not going to cover, all these trans athletes who are winning. They completely ignore that stuff. Most of the legacy media does. But real American people, here's what happened. You want to talk about COVID. People realized what was happening to us. And the mama bears got real pissed out there about what was happening to kids in school. So I think COVID, not the coverage of COVID necessarily, but the actual existence of the lockdowns and all this stuff had a big impact on trust as well, even trust in the media.
And then I think the final straw really was the coverage of Joe Biden, when people were saying, hey, I can see with my own two eyes that the guy seems pretty old, probably doesn't seem capable of being the president in the next term, and yet there's not a whole hell of a lot of coverage of it. Alex Thompson, our White House reporter, just won the White House Reporting Award because he was one of the few reporters to write about the decline of Joe Biden.
So that's true, but I'm going to have a little asterisk here in a second. It is true, and I'll give credit to Alex Thompson.
And he got the hell kicked out. Exactly. Some of the very reporters who may have, who will applaud him when he wins the award in a couple of weeks. If you go back and look at their Twitter feeds, there's a lot of people dunking on him and saying, that's not actually true. And we're on the other ends of the calls from the White House saying that you guys are out on a limb, you're wrong, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. And so I think those three things in totality really cemented the distrust that a lot of people have in media.
But Vanderhei wants to make it seem like it was just a few bad apples who lied to the American people, and that is certainly not the case. And by the way, it was well beyond what happened in the three issues that he, addressed. It's Brett Kavanaugh and the Kavanaugh hearings. It's Covington Catholic. It's so many different things where the American people got wind of the fact that this stuff was not being reported accurately. It's also the rise of Joe Rogan and podcasts and people who were telling the truth in very different ways. And they were calling it like they see it, because one thing that I would say is if you're really thinking about some of this stuff in just the media landscape form, the guy that was holding everyone's feet to the fire on this for the longest time, and I do think that the latter years of his career weren't quite as strong, was Rush Limbaugh. But when Rush passed away, that opened the path even more so for a Rogan or people like that, because the alternative voices were out there, but they may not have been amplified as much as they were certainly in the last 5 years.
And you can go and listen to long-form interviews with people and actually get a feel for them instead of what the media was telling you in a minute and a half.
Exactly. Now, that same guy that just sat there on the podcast and preached to you and told you, I knew this all along, I was trying to tell people, here he is, Jim Vanderhei.
What we do, what journalists do, what you did in Mississippi, what Al Jazeera does in the Middle East. You don't proclaim yourself to be a reporter. That's nonsense. Being a reporter's hard.
So what he's saying is that there are people on Twitter and other people who claim to be independent journalists, but they cannot be in that caliber of highly esteemed professionals who went to journalism school and things like that. It's too important, that role is.
Hard. You have to care. You have to do the hard work. You have to get up every single day and say, I want to get to the closest approximation of the truth without any fear, without any favoritism.
What?
You don't do that by popping off on Twitter. You don't do that by having an opinion. You do it by doing the hard work.
What's the hard work that they're doing? And one of my favorite parts of that, Phil Klein on Twitter recognized this as well. The best part of the sanctimonious rant is when he uses Qatari-funded Al Jazeera as an example of a media outlet that does real truth-seeking reporting out there. But let's talk about the truth-seeking reporting that Jim Vanderhei is highlighting here and claiming that he was just a victim of as well, because I'm going to offer you some examples here. Here is Morning Joe, for example.
Yeah, come on, slow clap, everybody. Whoa. First of all, I've got to say, extraordinary content. It needed to be said.
Yeah.
It continues to need to be said. When all of the garbage is flying around on social media, lying about reporters, lying about the hard work they do, lying about the hard work editors do, lying about everything up and down about not only their alternative set of facts, but alternative set of facts about what people like you do.
Yeah, he's talking about people having alternative sets of facts.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically.
Yeah, so that's the same guy that wants to give props to Jim Vanderhei and all these reporters who are working hard when he's sitting there behind his desk with his wife every morning. Was he that ignorant? I mean, there's two things here. Either you lied to the American people and you were very aware that he was not cogent, or you were that ignorant and you weren't doing your job. So no scenario is good there. But let's offer some more examples. This is a guy by the name of Kyle Cheney, who's on Washington This Week on PBS talking about some of these things.
I kind of wonder, too, how much of this is driven. Republicans on the other side have spent 4 years almost kind of weaponizing Biden's age against him. Trump is not that much younger than him, but we don't ever talk about Donald Trump's age.
In the poll numbers either as much.
Right.
Why is that?
I mean that's a great question.
That's a great question. This is a campaign debate they're having. Why aren't we talking about Donald Trump's age? We're only talking about Joe Biden's age, really?
Because I don't think you've had this years of concerted effort. I mean, Donald Trump, they're running ads showing Biden tripping every 5 seconds, and I think that creates sort of an aura that sticks, that is sort of stuck with Joe Biden. John Trump has always been very good at branding his opponents.
Years of what? Years of a narrative? Years of a guy who now we know needed fluorescent tape on the ground to figure out where he was going to walk. And then there's this guy here, Mark Leibovich, who is on, this is the same show, on Washington This Week on PBS. He's with The Atlantic. There's no shocker. Here's what he says then.
You were warning early about Biden's age. Is there anything surprising coming out to you now, or is this kind of a story about a group of people around Joe Biden covering up for him?
I mean, I'm not really surprised. I mean, I'm surprised to the degree to which he has completely disappeared since the election. I mean, I guess it's sort of obvious that a lame duck president, by definition, will not be a factor, especially when someone who has such a big footprint as Donald Trump is waiting in the wings.
Hang on, I screwed this up. I'm just going to tell you this right now. I reversed these bytes. So that was after the election. Here, this is the same guy, Mark Leibovich, on that Washington Week program saying this last year.
Could I just point out, though, that, I mean, it's not just making an issue of Biden's age. It's lying. It's saying he's senile. It's saying he's demented, saying he's out of it. I mean, I think it's important to sort of state for a fact that a lot of these are just smears.
Right. Mentally, he's quite acute.
Yeah, so those guys are on that PBS show 6 months ago, so he's quite acute. This is all much ado about nothing. They're making this all the deepfake, and then they go on, oh, well, we kind of knew this all along. And
what the heck?
I know, it's ridiculous.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Hey, good news this afternoon. 141 has been reopened in both directions underneath 44. They were going to have that done by tomorrow morning's rush hour, but it receded. The floodwater did early, so that's great. Watch out for, we had a stall. It was southbound 55 before Gasconade. And that left us with a little bit of a delay in that area back to about the beginning of the construction zone near 44. We've got an accident reported eastbound just coming off of the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. It's created a jam back through 70. 64 is already jammed. We've got that emergency bridge deck repair going on. This is supposed to be the last day, but they've got a couple lanes blocked on the bridge through East St. Louis, and it's created a parking lot back to Jefferson. 44 is back past Jefferson, and if you're leaving downtown, 64 lines up Kings Highway out through McCausland. Out west, moderate volume between Highway N and the 70 split. 70 isn't bad, or it wasn't out of the immediate downtown area, but now we've got slow-moving traffic at Jennings Station Road in both directions. Could be a stall through there. And then slowing again at Highway A. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
We got Sue's News coming up, and Alex Rich from Y98 visits on a Wednesday afternoon. This just so happens to be a Wednesday afternoon.
We were having spaghetti when we suddenly noticed and we started getting sweaty. So we grabbed the keys and we ate it in the van. That's what my friend said. Call Jerry Kelly, man, JerryKelly.com. Give him a call even though it's late. JerryKelly.com.
A message for qualified investors from Noble Gold Investments. If your portfolio is over $250,000 and you aren't hedged, you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. With markets at all-time highs, history tells us what comes next. A 10% allocation into gold and silver can help diversify. Experienced investors know that in times of economic uncertainty, real assets, not paper promises, offer true security. Noble Gold Investments makes it easy to add institutional-grade gold and silver to your portfolio, so you can hedge like the world's smartest investors. For nearly a decade, Noble Gold has helped thousands of Americans protect their future, turning numbers on a screen into real, tangible assets. And right now, when you make a qualified investment, Noble Gold will add a free 10th-ounce gold coin to your order. Disciplined investors protect what they've built. Visit NobleGoldInvestments.com today. NobleGoldInvestments.com.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
This could be the number 1 tax saving strategy for your retirement savings, and it's hidden inside IRS tax code section 1.408A-4. Discover what it is and how you can make your money go further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by advisors from financial and tax architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis, and you'll learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing Social Security, paying for health care, and more. And they do it for free, but bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There are a few openings left for classes this month, so register now by calling 314-947-2012, 314-947-2012. That's 314-947-2012.
We have a Wednesday edition of the person you just heard there, Sue Thomas. Sue's News is coming up after Fox News, which is next.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
This is a Fox News alert. One of the best days ever on Wall Street. I'm Lisa Brady. The Dow soaring 2,962 points, more than 7%, after a major pivot from the president, pausing tariffs for most trading partners.
Reciprocal tariffs announced by President Trump last week are now on hold for 90 days, replaced by a flat 10% tariff on all imports following sharp market downturns.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid.
But the tariff rate on China will increase to 125% on imports after Beijing announced retaliatory tariff rates on U.S. goods.
China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it.
President Trump says more than 75 countries have reached out to the administration seeking trade talks.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. The S&P jumping more than 9%, the NASDAQ more than 12%. Goldman Sachs rescinding a recession forecast. The president first announcing the pause with a social media post, while U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer was at a House hearing defending the president's tariff policy.
It looks like your boss just pulled the rug out from under you and paused the tariffs, the taxes on the American people. There's no strategy. You just found out 3 seconds ago, sitting here, we saw you.
Nevada Democratic Congressman Stephen Horsford also suggesting possible market manipulation, which Greer denied. California Congressman Ro Khanna says he supports tariffs on China, but not chaos. The House now debating a Senate budget bill that doesn't have as many spending cuts as some House Republicans want. Holdouts are concerned about tax cuts adding to the national debt. The bill would make the 2017 tax cuts permanent. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey, fellow Gen Xers, it's Elizabeth Banks. Big news! The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the charge. After all, we gave the world the internet. We're trailblazers. Let's lead the way again because we are at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Head to vaxassist.com and schedule today. That's vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
We will continue to see a couple of scattered showers and thunder showers around this afternoon, but rainfall is limited. Mostly cloudy skies and warmer. Windy, 68. Tonight, slow clearing, 47. Thursday, stronger front coming in, a mix of clouds and sunshine with scattered showers and a couple of non-severe thunderstorms, 67. Will cool to 59 and sunshine on Friday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
I'm Chad Robison with Your Money Now. President Donald Trump today dropping new tariff rates on imports from most U.S. trade partners to 10% for 90 days to allow for trade negotiations with those countries. Trump announcing the pause hours after goods from nearly 90 nations became subject to reciprocal tariffs imposed by the U.S. Trump said more than 75 countries contacted U.S. officials to negotiate after he unveiled his new tariffs last week. On Wall Street, stocks surged today with the Dow gaining more than 2,900 points. The S&P 500 grew by 474, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ was up by more than 12%. The Mortgage Bankers Association says the average contract interest rate for 30-year mortgages dropped to 6.61% from 6.7%. Mortgage refinance demand surged 35% in 1 week. U.S. crude oil futures for May up 5% below $63 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
Well, we have Sue's News coming up here in just a minute. Let's talk about the Retirement Advisor Group. Before we do that, let's talk about Wall Street today. A very interesting day. The Dow was up 7%, up 2,800 points. The NASDAQ up 11.5%. Actually, 11.75, 1793.22 was up that much. The S&P was up 460. So a good day on Wall Street. But as we kind of segue into a conversation about the team at the Retirement Advisor Group, they're going to get you through these very volatile times with this, their philosophy, their strategy of safely linking to the market. They do it a little differently at the Retirement Advisor Group. They have been having a lot of success over decades here in St. Louis. They have a very I think a lot of people are skeptical about it when they say, we've never lost a client a penny of their principal. How is that possible? What do they do? Well, they'll explain it to you in one of the seminars that we have. We've done 2 already this year, but you don't have to wait until, this is probably going to be mid or late May when we have the next one. Go right into the office. In fact, you can just register online right now. Go to retirementkey.com. It'll say check back later to see upcoming events. But if you press register, here's the secret. It'll take you right to a page where you can set up a meeting one-on-one with the team. Or you can call 314-993-9494 if the last couple of weeks hasn't incentivized you to get a little bit of a better handle on your retirement and maybe do it in a little bit of a different way. This is the time. RetirementKey.com for the official financial planners of this show, Thomas Helbig and the Retirement Advisory Group.
Hey, it's Tom Ackerman. Where do you go for your annual eye health examination? Ophthalmology Associates, of course. Doctors Greg Birdie and Ranjan Malhotra. Dr. Robert Bersati, he's the one I saw. Or Dr. Andrew Royer. They are available to you and are there to take care of all your vision needs at Ophthalmology Associates. They're on Manchester Road, a half-mile west of 270. Your vision is their business at Ophthalmology Associates. In fact, many of their patients are doctors themselves. That's why they call themselves the doctors, Ophthalmology Associates. Are your eyes itchy and scratchy? It could be more than just allergies. They're the leaders in dry eye diagnosis and treatment. They're the leaders in LASIK and discussing those procedures. And if you're having difficulty reading or driving at night, you have glare from oncoming headlights, could be early signs of cataracts, and they can talk to you about multifocal lens implants. Ophthalmology Associates, youridoc.com.
When you're injured on the job, you need more than just a workers' comp lawyer. When you need a fighter, you need us. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, for the people. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hi, my name is Christina Straight, the owner of Straight Realty, and I'm asking you, what do you want in a realtor? Do you want experience? I've been a broker for over 21 years. Do you want to know how much I've sold? I've sold over $500 million, yes, $1 billion with a B, in sales. Do you want value? I now list properties for only 2%. So, if you're looking for all these things and want the best, then call me, 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
When you go shopping, you may not get the bargain you want, but at least you know and can compare prices. It should be that way with healthcare, but too often it's not. Need an operation on your knee? Want to know what it's going to cost? Good luck. For 3 years, hospitals have been required to provide patients with list prices and have negotiated charges for some 300 services. Only 36%, just over a third, are fully compliant. In Missouri, prices differ greatly depending on a patient's insurance. The cost of a pelvic CT scan, for example, can be 20 times more expensive in one hospital than another. Price transparency allows patients to compare providers, forces hospitals to compete on price, and helps insurers negotiate lower rates. State law should require all healthcare providers to publish prices in a user-friendly form. What we don't know is costing us. The price of healthcare shouldn't be a secret. Check out our 2024 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward, at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I'll give you $10, Sue Thomas.
Oh, I love it,
if
but
you
I
can
don't
come
know.
up with the title of this song. Ready?
Okay.
Just take a wild stab.
Ding, ding.
Dig-a-ding-ding.
Yeah.
It's dig-a-ding-ding.
Oh, sorry. Dig-a-dig-ding.
This is Michael LeGrand. Alex Ritchie's here from Y98. Fred, the Hall of Famer, as well. I like this song, and here's why. I was talking about the show, The Studio, with Seth Rogen on Apple TV Plus, and I'll sit there sometime with, I use this thing, SoundHound, which is like, there's another, whatever,
Yeah, it's
more popular.
Shazam.
Shazam. I use SoundHound.
Yeah.
But I heard this, and it was such a cool little song, so I had to pull it for some bumper music. But I just love that the title is Dig-a-Ding-Ding. D-I-G-U-E-ding-ding. Michael
I
LeGrand.
think that counts for Sue getting it right.
Yeah,
I think so, too.
kinda.
Yeah, you
I didn't
did
get
pretty
the
well.
ding. Sorry about that.
Hey, I went into my friendly neighborhood Walmart. How are you, Alex? First
I'm
of
well.
all,
You know,
I
I'm
didn't even
doing.
say hi to you. My
I know you
goodness.
just jumped right in.
I'm
You
sorry
kinda
about
just-
that. I have a lot on my mind. I have some good stuff here coming up after Sue's News as well. But I went into my friendly neighborhood Walmart in High Ridge. I love my High Ridge Walmart. Go there pretty much 4 or 5 times a week. See
That
my
many?
I see my
Jeez.
yeah, because I like to go to the store.
That
I
kind of seems like that
4
many
or 5
times a week is a hobby.
Yes.
All right, maybe
your hobby is going to Walmart.
Okay, wait a second here. Maybe 3 times. Well, I mean, 4 times in a 7-day period. 4 times. That's not a lot.
That tells me you need to be way more efficient when you're at a Walmart.
That's exactly
What are we
right.
doing? What are we doing going to Walmart 4 or 5? At this point,
I'm gonna say you might have a point here.
Yeah.
Mark,
Dude,
I'm
are
on
you
your
kidding
side.
me? No.
I'm on your side on this because
No.
I'm probably 3 times a week.
That's also insane.
are you
guys are
people
out of your
doing?
mind.
Here's
agree.
one thing that I do, and maybe
Thank
I'm
you, Sue.
convincing myself.
Hit that dinger one more time. Thank you.
Yesterday morning, I had to go up because I was, and this is where the story takes us. So thank you. I was out of Diet Coke, so I needed to go up to the Walmart. But this story goes back to Saturday when I was last at the Walmart. So yesterday was what? Tuesday? So yeah, I've been there twice in 4 days. That doesn't seem excessive to me. But there were some. I was going up to the. It doesn't. I was going up to where
50%.
You didn't realize you're going to run out of Diet Coke. Why don't you just buy enormous amounts?
This again walks me into the whole point of my story. So I'm there on Saturday morning. I'm at the end cap where my 24 packs of Diet Coke usually are. All right, not too far from the frozen section. And I'm stumped just a little bit. I'm looking at the kid. There's some people right behind me. They're trying to get some Sprite. And I think I'm in their way. And you can sense it, when someone's trying. I'm like, and I apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just noticing that the 24 packs are now 18 packs.
Oh, yeah.
Same price?
Oh.
Pretty
Probably.
close.
Wow.
Pretty close to the same price. So I don't know. I haven't Googled this, but I don't know if this is just a Walmart thing. Is this, because it could be Walmart trying to increase their margins.
Normal size cans?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good
Okay.
question.
Let's see. I'll just Google this. Diet Coke 24 packs and see if there's like a news story that says Diet Coke is getting rid of. Yeah.
Nothing.
No, it doesn't say that.
My question is, I guess getting back to the why you're at Walmart, like,
Thank you.
is the sell-by date can't be that different if you're going in the same week.
Look, dude, I need things. It's only like 8 minutes from my house, so I go up to get bunny greens. A lot of times I need stuff for
Sure.
Oreo. Should I be more efficient? Yes, but I'm not like my wife gets things from Instacart and spends too much money, and she goes to Deerberg's and so I don't do that. I go to the Walmart. I feel at peace with my people at the High Ridge
Which
Walmart.
is crazy because I find this incredibly fascinating as I'm someone that tries to spend as little amount of time in any Walmart.
It's very
I'm comfortable
interesting.
there.
I mean,
Alex, what
this
can
is
I
really
say?
honestly. Is this like your type of yoga?
Well, here's
is this
what's
like
funny.
yoga. This is like a mental. It's like your therapy.
I was
dude.
telling my daughter this story,
I gotta
because
cool off. I'm going to the Walmart.
she knows my friend Rick Niner in Las Vegas, and Rick lives up from this grocery store called Albertsons. It's a chain out there, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm there in Las Vegas visiting him, because when I don't stay on the Strip, I'm at his house, we'll go down to Albertsons and get stuff. And I mean, everything is about $10 more
Sure.
than we pay here ordinarily anyway. And one time I said to him, like, do you ever go to, well, I knew the answer, and I said, you never go to Walmart. He goes, Poof. I said, do you ever go to Target? He won't even go to Target. He's such an elitist. But there are people that will not go into a Walmart, right?
Okay.
I don't really care because a couple of things. I no longer care what I look like, so I can go to the Walmart basically in my pajamas like
Sure.
everyone else, and I
And
feel
slippers.
Exactly. And I do like the lower prices despite the trade war that's going on right now.
Well, that's not the question. The question is, what are you doing there 4 times a
Right,
week?
because I'm not
What
opposed.
Are you buying?
We're not opposed. Sue and I aren't opposed
Fred-
to going to Walmart.
Fred is on my side
I
here.
am. I
okay,
am.
like Saturday morning, I had to run out and get a few things for the weekend. I got my Diet Coke, I got my greens, I got some stuff for dinner. Yesterday, I think I needed I did need Diet Coke again. I didn't realize I had gone through so much, and a couple other things. Now, I don't have any other plans to go to Walmart this week yet, and it's Wednesday, so maybe I cut back on my trips, Alex.
You sound like my 24-year-old cousin that lives by himself and goes and just buys like a couple things at a time, and then he's like, well, I'll get the rest tomorrow. It's like, what are we... There's no
okay.
reasoning behind this.
To your point, I'm not the person that fills up an entire cart and walks out of the Walmart. No, I do buy fewer. Like my cart's probably got 20 items to 25.
I mean,
I think this can be solved by list making, but I find that maybe not. Fred, what are you buying 3 times a week?
Yeah, do you guys like forget stuff?
Yeah.
Or like
No, but
you get what you need and you're like, I'll come back.
Something's always added
Right.
onto the list on the refrigerator when I get back. It's
Something
like, oh, wow,
is
we need that.
always added to the
And
list.
I like shopping.
Yes.
I like going to the store. It's something
Yes.
where I
Oh,
have control over everything.
I like this
so
too.
I like
You're
to
the-
shop.
This is it.
The Walmart Kings.
Uh-huh.
I love all this, Fred.
Yeah.
They like the control. That's interesting.
We are on
what are
Team
you
Walmart.
controlling?
There's just a lot of stuff in your life you don't have control over.
Oh,
this
I
is
see.
something I have control over.
Trips to Walmart.
I'm not sure. What
They're simple.
Okay.
Sue.
How about old Fred
Couple-
Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
Couple simple guys here, you know.
Let's
All
do
right.
this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Man, I'm being judged. I am being
Yeah,
judged,
you
not
are.
only
You
for
are.
going to
We
the
need
Walmart.
an executive order to
Yeah,
stop
I
this
know.
judging.
I
Yeah,
do.
yeah. On this day in history, 60 years ago, in 1965, the Astrodome opened, and they had an exhibition game between the Astros and the Yankees, and it was Mickey Mantle who hit the stadium's first home run. Isn't that nuts?
That's great.
Not surprising.
No. I just don't think about Mickey Mantle coming into the 60s. For
Doesn't
some
that
reason.
seem like kind of recent for like Mickey Mantle?
Yes, that must have been at the end of it. Well, Fred would know. Is that at the end of his career,
Toward,
Fred?
toward the end.
Yeah.
But he was still playing there because I have Mickey Mantle cards when I was collecting in the late 60s.
Okay, well, that's good to know. By the way, the Astrodome was the first fully enclosed sports stadium, the first air-conditioned event venue of its size. Seating over 70,000 fans, they had enough space to include an indoor chapel and a bowling alley.
I will bring in tomorrow my program from the Astrodome during the first year
Oh, my
of what the
gosh.
yearbook looked like for the Astros in the Astrodome.
Did you go?
Talking about
Oh.
just talking about all the features in the Astrodome.
It was a
pretty
legitimate.
cool.
It was a legitimate question
Yeah.
on Sue's part, though. If
Oh,
you went,
no, I didn't. I picked it up at an estate sale.
Oh, okay, of course. I should have known that, Fred. And 46 years ago today, in 1979, we just had Christopher Walken on yesterday. Well, in the SNL skit.
oh, he joined us live. He was
Yeah,
here in the
he was
studio. It was
here.
awesome to see him
You,
again.
you said that. I was like, are you kidding? Why didn't I come in on Tuesday
Oh my
this
gosh.
week?
But he won Best Supporting Actor for The Deer Hunter, which I've never watched. Is
You
it
know what?
good, Mark, or no?
That is a movie I've never
You've
seen.
never seen
Nope,
it?
never
No,
seen the Deer
I
Hunter.
haven't either.
Have you?
Oh, absolutely not.
Wow, I
Never
don't even
heard
know
of
what
it.
it's about. I
I'm
guess
pretty
the
sure
title
that-
should tell me.
No, I don't. It doesn't, though. That's
Oh,
the thing. It's
okay.
not really about going to the woods in Howard County like I do and killing deer. But I know that I've tried to watch it. Like this was decades ago, and I'm like, I don't think so. So I gave. But that's a rare classic movie
It
that I haven't
is.
seen. Most of them I have.
Thought for sure you'd see that. How about a little music for this? Because also in that year, Donna Summer won with this song. So let's dance.
Come on.
Let's dance. Let's dance. Let's
A lot of dancing going on in the studio.
Wow. That's
Donna
what we like
Summer.
to call just an absolute banger, right?
Yes, it is. 100%. Ah, Donna Summer. Anyway, she won for her smash Last Dance. It won an Oscar for the Best Original Song. It was actually associated with a movie called Thank God It's Friday, which I'd never heard of.
Oh, yeah.
That song does come on. It's just like, that should be a requirement to hear this song every Friday morning. It does give you that Friday vibe. Like, here we go. There we go. Mark's
with you, Alex.
dancing
I like
now.
that.
Okay.
I think we used
like
to
it. It
do
sounds
that
good.
at wedding receptions when I played music at wedding receptions. It was
I-
a big
yes.
hit to
I
play
might have
really
to
late
have
in the
them
night.
add that to if it gets Mark dancing like he just did right now.
It's a
First of all, if it
preview.
gets Mark there in general,
Yeah.
we
Did
might
we
have to.
decide
that's a
is Mark
win.
going?
I'm
I thought
still
you were
hoping
gonna
not. But
double your gift if you don't go.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've gotten the official invitation yet, have I?
no, you haven't.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we'll see if I get the official
coming.
invitation.
It's on the
Alex
way.
is getting married at the end of June. I do have the dates blocked off, but yeah, you just never know.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
God bless Uber for doing this every year because it's one of my favorite things. Uber has released its annual Lost and Found Index that looks at the stuff we left behind in the ride shares
This
last
is
year.
fun.
Now, the most common things are, of course, the usual phone, wallet, keys, luggage, headphones. Okay, here's what they've had left over the last 12 months. A mannequin with human hair, a chainsaw, a urinal, Shrek ears, 2 mattresses, an aquarium, a unicycle, a huge bouquet of 100 roses, a plunger, a sewing machine, some Cornish hens, and divorce papers.
Can I throw a flag on this?
crazy.
Really?
Yes.
You're gonna leave
Mattresses?
2 mattresses?
2 mattresses.
It seems
and then
purposeful.
They might. It does seem purposeful. They
Oh.
might be twins.
They couldn't find
and in
room on the
trunk.
side of the highway to
Yeah.
leave the mattresses?
Right. They had to take them to their
It'll
daughter
be
at college.
it'll be the Uber driver's problem, not
That's
ours.
right. And they have weird food items as well. A 5-gallon bucket of beans, 175 sliders, a bucket of feta, a gallon of Sunny D, and someone left behind 108 eggs.
Hey,
And
That's
the
a
egg
fortune
shortage
right
problem.
now.
I know. Wow.
So that is what people have left in the Uber over the last year. I don't know how you get a urinal in there or why, but okay.
Some of these Uber drivers need to have they need to have some more criteria here. Like, hey man, sorry, you're
Standards.
gonna have to rent a car.
That's
like
right.
I'm not the urinal's not coming with us.
I bet I do like to chat it up with my Uber drivers because they have
I
stories.
bet
Like
you do.
In Vegas in particular. Oh, they have stories.
Oh, I
Did
can't
I ever
even
tell you the
imagine.
story about that? We were on the way to the airport one time, and it was like earlier in the morning. It was during virtual teaching, and Annie was like teaching her 5th grade class and doing something on her phone, like on the way to the airport. At the same time, the Uber driver picked us up. It was the guy and his girlfriend, and I kid you not, they were smoking a blunt. This whole
During the ride?
During the ride, while just everything that was going on during this whole ride was like straight out of a movie. It was like she was teaching 5th grade, I was just hanging out. These people were smoking doobies. The girlfriend was there. It was crazy.
Wow.
You see, you do get some stories out of the Ubers.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
It's a good one.
That is a good one.
Will hot dog towers be the big barbecue trend this summer? It's a question on all of our minds, I'm sure.
It's
Hot
a
dog
burning
towers?
question.
Yes. Well, you see, restaurants have started adding them as a cheaper alternative to your classic seafood tower. You take a multi-tiered serving platter and put different types of hot dogs around it. All 3 levels could be hot dogs. Or you can use one level for fries. Maybe the top tier for condiments, not ketchup. Just don't load. You could just put anything on there, I guess you want. It's all about presentation. A place in South Carolina called Sir Wieners. That's right. Is
I love
taking
that.
responsibility for the trend. They partnered with an upscale place called Lamar's last fall and added a hot dog tower to the menu. And the owner of Sir Wieners says people love it because it's over the top. It's perfect mix of ridiculous and delicious.
3 different types of hot dogs?
Yeah, I wonder about that
I'm wondering
too,
what,
Fred.
What are the different types?
Probably like a cheddar beef or like
Oh,
a cheddar,
yeah.
That's a good call.
jalapeno and
Kosher.
yeah,
It's got to be a Nathan famous.
probably a
stuff.
Hebrew National thrown in there or something as
I
well.
would agree with you that Nathan's are the best.
See, I love a good. We'll even do that for dinner every once in a while. You know, you get stuck, and I'll put some hot dogs on the grill, and you do them like the Chicago dogs.
Do you cut them
little
down the
celery
middle?
saw? I don't. I do not. No.
I personally,
A lot of people do that, right? Split
well,
'em?
I don't cut them, but when it splits opens when I know that it's been cooked long
Right.
enough for my liking.
Yeah.
That's
Well, there's
fair.
nothing wrong with that.
But I do enjoy it split down the middle, but because I think it gives you a little crevasse.
I would
guess
agree.
would
Oh,
say
my gosh.
where you could put the. I'm a mustard man myself as well, Sue.
100%. Thank you.
I was.
know?
And Alex and I know each other pretty well, but I was really unaware of your being a connoisseur of wieners.
They call me the glizzy god.
See?
They do.
They've been
Really,
known
they
to
do.
call-
Who does?
You know they.
the look that Mark
Right.
has given me is you know.
Yeah,
Because I know when you're so full of crap.
All right, and finally in Sue's news, just ramping off of what Alex said, I will bring you this random fact. There is a difference between a crevice and a crevasse.
Was that really your fact?
Uh-huh.
You're kidding.
Nope. I've got several from which to choose.
I didn't see that at all.
You're
I
like
didn't see her paper. I swear that
You're
was
like a
not
California psychic.
That was
pretty good.
unbelievable.
There is a difference between a crevice and a crevasse. A crevice is a small crack. A crevasse is an enormous one. So if you see a crevasse in the earth, that's because it's huge. If you see just a crevice, it's smaller. And that's it for Susan.
And the crevasse, I cut it all the
Yeah,
all
well,
from
sure.
end to end, so it's a
all
crevasse.
relative.
especially if you got a foot long.
My brain is so frozen over that. I just think that's fascinating because I thought it was just a word where you would say crevice, and if you wanted to sound fancier, you would say cravat.
Oh, yeah, no.
So did I.
Kind of like foyer and foyer.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I do.
All right, there you go. We'll go out with Dig a Ding Ding here. We're coming back. I have an amazing series of audio cuts to play you coming up here from a story that was in the LA Times that involves payphones, and I think you're going to be dazzled by it. Coming up.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast.
I screwed up the whole thing there because the Sue's News sounder was
Sorry
still going.
about
Damn
that.
it!
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident eastbound 270 reported between the Chain of Rocks and Canal Bridges. So we have a jam there, and then it jams back through 367 on the Missouri side. Heavy traffic if you're headed into Illinois. Now, mostly this is due to emergency road repairs eastbound 5564 on the Poplar Street Bridge through East St. Louis. Hopefully they will have that picked up by tomorrow. But we have a parking lot jam back to Jefferson, if not past there. And that's jammed up 44 as well, which is back near Grand. Southbound 55 is jammed out of downtown in the construction zone. 6440, that's jammed approaching Kings Highway out past McCausland, slowing past 94, and again at Highway N. 70, there's some slow-moving traffic around Jennings Station Road. And then one more time at Highway K, moderate volume headed for Wentzville. Southbound 270, moderate volume in pockets, Page down through 44. And they have reopened 141 underneath 44 in both directions. The water has receded. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorstlewis.com. You can't win if you don't enter. Overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I want to talk about New Perspective Senior Living. They're in Weldon Spring next to Persimmon Woods Golf Course. It is a great location because it's very easy access to Highway 6440, not too far from Progress West Hospital. That is a big booming area out there, and you could take advantage of it, or your mom and dad can. And if you need a new independent assisted living facility that has a memory care facility as well, that's New Perspective. It's a company that's never been in Missouri before. They're based in Minnesota. They're all across the country. First time here in Missouri in Weldon Spring, and it really is a different approach. It's a friendlier approach to senior living. This time of year, we like to remind folks, hey, if you're living at New Perspective, you don't have to cut the lawn. You don't have to worry about a lot of these things that are going on with landscaping, etc. You don't have to worry about the meals because they are prepared for you, chef-prepared meals. It's an awesome facility. They would love for you to come over and tour New Perspective. They'll give you a complimentary meal and buy you lunch as well. So home is really where the heart is, and if you'd like to find out about New Perspective, where care is always available as well, take the next step by calling 888-229-2298 or, N as in Nancy, P as in Paul, npseniorliving.com for New Perspective Senior Living.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Drury Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Drury Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314 569-1050 and have a banner day.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But this one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now, here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. Oh, one last number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA. So we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to 97.1 FM Talk, even when you don't have a radio. Always streaming at 971talk.com. You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hanging out with Alex Rich in the studio on a Wednesday afternoon. He works over at our sister station, Y98. We have the Hall of Famer, Fred Bottomer, Sue Thomas, Ethan Hannaford. Ethan helped me with this project here that I'm going to share with you, and I found it interesting. So this was in the LA Times. Let me ask this question of Ethan, because he's the youngest member in the room. Have you ever used a payphone in your life? Probably not, right?
Not that I can remember, no.
Alex, how about you?
You know, I don't think I've also ever used a payphone.
I have two great memories of using payphones. One was when I was in college at Mizzou, covering a big trial in the Boone County Courthouse, and when the verdict was read, I had to wait in line to use the payphone.
Isn't that funny?
Oh, my gosh.
And the other one was during the halftime of the Super Bowl in Atlanta when the Rams won the Super Bowl. I waited in a huge long line at halftime to call my wife and tell her what I was seeing at the Super Bowl, because there's a line of people waiting for the payphone.
Who performed at that Super Bowl?
What year was that?
Halftime show?
He was on the phone.
Phil Collins.
Oh, nice.
Well, I bring it up because here's the story that was in the LA Times. And I'll kind of read, without even reading the headline, I'll kind of read you the narration of the story here and walk you into this audio, which is really, really interesting and compelling. Alexis Wood received a notification on her phone. It was an anonymous call from a payphone. She listened and was momentarily paralyzed, and then she couldn't stop crying. The call wasn't completely unexpected. Days earlier, Wood and her partner, Adam Trunell, had gone prowling for working Los Angeles payphones, and they placed stickers on them that invited passerbys to make a free call to a recorded line to what they said was say goodbye. And she says what surprised her was the message. And I'm going to play you some of these messages because this was something that they did. They put these stickers on payphones and they set up a recorded line. I also think this is going to be a documentary because they alluded in
must be.
Yeah, they alluded in the story that the partner that she has, the dude, is a documentary filmmaker, and they're going to do something with this. So there are not a lot of payphones that exist at all in America. There's a couple hundred, I guess, still in Los Angeles. But keep in mind that, you know, Los Angeles is a huge, huge area. There's 149 that remain. Usually next to like a 7-Eleven or something like that, right? You may have a payphone. So this is called the Goodbye Line. It's more than a year old. There's a Instagram account called Goodbye Line, and people pick up the phone. They get curious, and they call this recorded service. Sometimes they leave their name, and they give permission to use their name. Sometimes they say, I don't want my name shared. But Ethan, you'll have to admit, listening to these was pretty fascinating this morning.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it gives you an idea of like how much you don't know is going on in people's lives, like behind the scenes that we walk by. I mean, especially when you're in a city, you walk by hundreds of thousands of people daily, and you have no idea what's going on in that person's life, what's going on behind the scenes for them. So I think you almost got this behind the scenes feeling for some of these people as to a sneak peek into their lives, which I thought was kind of cool.
I think you're right about that. But what's interesting is, why would they do it in this particular fashion? And one of the things they pointed out in the LA Times story is that you use a payphone different than you use a cell phone. It doesn't have a camera. It's not in your pocket, right? You say goodbye in a place that's different from where you do most of your business. You hear a dial tone. That's the sound of waiting. Then you leave a message as if you just dug a hole in the ground. That's how they describe it in there. But let me play you some of the people that have been inspired to call this. And you can go online to Instagram. It's Goodbye Line. I followed it this morning, and they have all the recordings of the calls up there that people have made.
I've never used a payphone before. It's the very first time I've done it. And I came up to it because I was wondering whether or not this was actually a real payphone or not, and it turns out it is a real payphone. That's fascinating. I'm 28. I'm not that old, not that young. So, I have a vague memory of payphones and people using them. But never done so myself. And then I saw this sticker, and I guess I wanted to mourn the death of the payphone. There's something beautiful about the communal sweat and voices that have poured their essences into this phone that I'm holding. It's right outside of a police station, too, so I'm sure it's been a sight for both. Joel.
Yeah, how about that? That one's right next to a police station. Now, one thing that you're quickly going to discover here, and I think you already have, is the quality of a payphone is not very good.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible. So, and I apologize for that. But here's a young woman named Brittany.
My name is Brittany from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm here in Los Angeles. I want to say goodbye to my old self that was innocent, pure, and young. Now I'm in L.A., hooked on cocaine powder, and I feel like I'm a different person. I feel like I am not myself anymore, and I want to say goodbye to the old me that cared about everything, and hopefully I'll get to see that person again. But for right now, my main mission is to make money to get some more powder cocaine so I can feel myself, so I can feel like I'm alive again, so I can feel like, I can feel alive.
How about that?
Wow.
I mean, that is extremely sad. And to Ethan's point, you don't know that you walk by someone like Brittany and that she's feeling like, and this is what happened with addicts, that her whole mission is to, to feed the addiction.
Yeah, so if you want to see me in person, see my life story, follow me on Instagram at scumbag90210. I'm a photographer as well.
So she's trying to sell her business. Here's another one here.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's been a few years. It's felt like forever since you left. Physically, you're still here.
This is one where the guy was actually saying goodbye to someone that he didn't have a chance to say goodbye to. So
Either a friendship or a relationship that no longer had.
Right. This is one about an old father, right?
Hello, Goodbye Line. I want to say goodbye to my old self. I used to be very fat, used to not care about myself, used to not take care of myself, and now I'm on my way to my first bodybuilding show in July. So that makes me very excited, and I want to say goodbye to my old self on this last payphone here in Altadena, California. So, yeah, goodbye to my old self.
That one's not there anymore. It went up in the fire probably. Payphone.
I was relieved to hear that one though, because a lot of these were really sad.
I bet.
And this one was so positive. So I thought it was kind of cool, but I was also a little relieved to hear, someone's finally saying goodbye to something that they are happy to get rid of.
And so I read the slug here, by the way, and I thought it said father because it says, the way that you typed it out is man says goodbye, and we only see a certain amount of the words on the screen. And it says to old fat, and I thought it was father but he was
to
actually
old fat self,
old
I
fat
think is
self,
what I
right.
put.
But this one is to a mom.
Mom, I didn't get the chance to say anything to you.
the morning you passed, the night before we actually argued about grades. I was in middle school, and you were upset about my grades, and you thought that I might kind of squander my education, things like that. But I think you'd be pretty proud if you could see where I'm at now. It's not the best in the world, but I did something with my life. So I love you, and I miss you. And this has been a long overdue goodbye. I hope you're doing well.
I mean, that one's
I don't know if I
emotional.
could take
Wow.
this.
Well, I mean, that is so people are looking at these signs and they're like, okay, they're spilling their guts in some situations. This is a guy who says goodbye to his late brother.
I want to say goodbye to my brother, Emerson. Man, it's just too much. It's a lot. I wish I could say, I wish I could run a lot of shit back, but I can't. I can't even say it. I could just move forward, because I really can't.
Yeah, that's a real sad one. This one is saying goodbye to, this one's more positive because she says goodbye to a disease.
Hi there. Thank you for creating the goodbye line. I'd like to share a little story. I went to a tropical place and picked up a tropical disease, and it's been a very long journey in getting rid of this tropical disease. And I just found out today that the disease, which is called leishmaniasis, is now gone from my body. So I'd like to say goodbye to that wretched thing and move on with my life and see more beautiful tropical places once again. Bye.
How about awesome? That's pretty awesome, right?
It's interesting, too, that they made it the goodbye line so that people can interpret that whatever way they'd like.
Yeah. And there's wide interpretation. In fact, here's our favorite, maybe.
Hey, Raquel, you was always a bitch, and I'm glad you did. Bye.
Oh, wow.
Okay, dokie.
That's one way to use the goodbye line. We're coming back with more on a Wednesday edition of the Mark Reardon Show.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got volume up north, eastbound 270. There was an earlier accident east of the Chain of Rocks Bridge, and it's all unwinding now that the accident has been cleared, but it's still slowing back through 367. The other serious jams we have, just like yesterday and Monday, are headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. We've got 6440 back near Compton, and this is a parking lot. 44 is back near Grand, all due to road work on the bridge itself. 5564 on the Poplar Street Bridge through a part of East St. Louis. They're hopefully going to have that reopened by tomorrow. Now, there was an accident, and people are using the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge as an alternate, so it's jammed as well. Southbound 55, the usual volume. South of Arsenal, down through Bates, southbound 270. Now, that's some slow pockets approaching Olive. We had an accident reported near Manchester. And out west, 70 slows approaching K, 6440 slowing at Highway N. This report brought to you by Artistic Decks. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Artistic Decks, making your dream deck affordable for more than 20 plus years. Craft your deck with the highest quality materials with precision attention. Be the envy of the neighborhood. 314-280-0821. 314-280-0821. ArtisticDecks.net.
If you do not have a Generac home standby generator, I want to guide you into, at the very least, a free estimate from Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. They would love to help you out. Do not be that person that gets to the next spring storm or tornado with power lines that go down, or even in the middle of the summer when, the power grid cannot handle all of the demand. Generator Supercenter has a store here in Chesterfield, but even if you just go to the website, GeneratorSupercenter.com, Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com, they can help you out with a free estimate. And Generac's the #1 brand in the nation. These are not portable generators, really, really good, high quality. They'll kick in as soon as that power goes off, and you are just a phone call away from a free estimate. So at least take a look at this, because we know that there are long outages, severe storms. If you live down in Florida with hurricanes, we have ice storms here in the Midwest, blown transformers, construction, all those things affect the ability for your house or your business to have energy. You can do something about it with Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. A free estimate is a phone call away at 499-2020, 499-2020, or GeneratorSupercenterofSt.Louis.com.
Without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Have you been injured in an accident? You need a personal injury law firm that wins. Onder wins. For over 100 years, we've been fighting and winning for St. Louis. $5 billion in negotiated settlements? We've got it. $300 million in verdicts? Done. Voted best law firm by STL Today 2 years in a row. Onder wins all the time. Car accident, trucking accident, workplace injury. No matter the case, let Onder win for you. When the stakes are high, we're the team you can trust. Wondering what your case is worth? Call now for a free consultation. And remember, we don't get paid unless you win. Dial 314 or 618-9-million. That's 9, then all zeros. Or visit onderwins.com today. Onder Law. Winning is what we do.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Men, are you just not feeling it? Could be your testosterone. U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peter's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. Check out the testimonials at usmensmedicalcenter.com. Patients are excited about feeling great, having energy, improved libido. Plus, they love the staff and the fact that they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Spring's coming. Enjoy it. Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333. USMen'sMedicalCenter.com. Renewal by Andersen is the #1 window and door brand for customer service. Find out why Renewal by Andersen has the most 5-star reviews in St. Louis at RBASTL.com or call 314-332-1924. RBASTL.com or 314-332-1924.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
State Representative David Castile. We need local government partnering, not running employers out of the city. We need them to appreciate the investment opportunity that those guys brings to the table.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Cut the lawn today. That wasn't easy because of all the rain, and it was pretty thick. Thanks to my Scott's Lawn Care Supplies, Alex Rich.
Dude, my yard is looking better than ever. I planted the seed. Well, I did it back in the fall, but then I did it again here in the spring. You can noticeably tell that my yard looks better than everybody else's on the block. Because I did the same thing earlier this week. I went out there, I was cutting the grass. And, man, the Scotts has it looking right.
Well, they delivered my mulch yesterday, so I have to do the mulching. But I can actually tell the difference in the seeds. I use the Scotts seed in the fall, and the grass is brighter green. You can literally see on my grass where the old grass is versus the
It looks great.
new.
And mine's super thick compared to every year. It's like I get excited about this time of the year because you try year after year after year to make the grass thicker and more full and less dead spots, right? And I think I'm finally there. I've lived in my house now about 7 years.
No, it's a never-ending challenge.
And it's a never-ending challenge, and I'm excited. I'm waiting to put my mulch down, though, but they've delivered it. They put it on my driveway. Ace Hardware brought it all over, and They just delivered it right to me. I didn't even have to do anything. And I think that's the hardest part about the whole thing.
Sue, do you have a nice yard at your new house? I've seen a lot of the pictures of the interior, but I haven't seen the yard.
Yeah, yes, it's pretty good. There's trees in the back, so there's always a challenge trying to get, sunshine to the grass. Nope, we have a patio.
All right.
Yeah.
But the shade does kind of throw you. But this seed, the Scott seed, it grows
shade
well.
stuff.
You got a little bit of a mix between the sun and the shade. It does well in both.
That's good.
Because I got a spot in the back that kind of floods a little bit, but it's also shaded. The grass is growing great.
I can't wait to have 1 yard. The end.
Hey, I'll segue here. What's your water pressure like in the new house, Sue?
What? Oh, that's a weird question. The
It's going to go
answer
somewhere.
is
I'm heading somewhere with
It's a
it.
fair question.
It's fine. They actually found an issue with it and repaired it when they were redoing some of the plumbing. So we're good to go.
So I love a high pressure shower. And this is going to be weird, but I'm just going to tell you right now that in my home, I don't like my shower pressure in the master bedroom, and it's better in the basement. So I shower every time I go in the basement.
Do you bring your clothes down there with you? Or do you just come all the way up?
It depends. It's
Depends
depends
who's
on
home.
who's
Maybe we don't want to know that.
It does depend on who's home. But Trump's been out there over the course of years, literally. I think this even goes back to the first administration, talking about the water pressure issue. So he literally signed with Will Scharf an executive order on this today.
What?
You don't get water. It's ridiculous.
So with this executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real deal shower head, they should have the ability to come.
No, I'm with Trump. They don't want that.
If you buy a new house, you pay a lot of money, and the developers, you're not allowed to do anything more. They put restrictors on. They used to have a restrictor where you could take it out, but now they weld it in. And you take a shower or wash your hands, whatever you do, including dishwashers where no water comes out. But you wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous. And what you do is you end up washing your hands 5 times longer. So it's the same water. And we're going to open it up so that people can live, and we're going to hopefully have Congress approve it so it's memorialized. We're going to try and get all of these things, including straws, a little thing like straws. We did straws.
Going after straws.
Where the paper straws were melting. They were dissolving. They weren't working well. And we went back to the plastic straws. We're going to get Congress to memorialize just about everything we've done here, because most of it's common sense.
I'm not sure memorialize was the right word. But so I love that soundbite because it really, and just bear with me here, it is a perfect encapsulation of everything that Trump is. Because he exaggerates so much in that. I love his point, and I agree with him. But we're not washing our hands 5 times longer because of water pressure. And by the way, the dishwasher technology is actually pretty advanced and it uses very little water and the pressure is high. But on the shower stuff, I'm completely with him.
Yeah.
And this is why I had to get a new washing machine, because they were doing it there. It's this low, you could barely get any water in there, and it doesn't do anything. Speed Queen is the answer.
I don't mean to take it back to the yard, but my cousin just moved into a house, and he cannot even get the sprinkler to reach half of his yard because the water pressure just doesn't catch any of it.
Okay, look, the bottom line is if he fixes this problem and then maybe he makes the Monday after the Super Bowl holiday, he might be in there for a 3rd term. I don't know. I'm just thinking he might be heading in that direction. Alex, great to see you.
We'll talk to you.
Have a good week. We have traffic coming up, and then our 3rd hour here on 97.1 FM Talk. We'll get back into the mayor's race with Jeff Smith at 5:25.
So, pick me up a little higher. Pick me up. Pick me up a little higher. Pick me up. So, hit me with a little fire.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got us stalled out eastbound 44 past Grand, and it's off on the shoulder. It looks like MoDOT is on the scene. but it's not much of a shoulder. That looks like the right lane and the right shoulder are blocked. And we already had a jam in that area because of road work eastbound on the Poplar Street Bridge and lane closures. We have a jam that goes well past Grand. So if you are headed for the Poplar Street Bridge or into downtown, it's a mess. 64 is back near Compton. Westbound traffic lines up before you even get to Kings Highway. And 70 eastbound jams headed into downtown as well. The Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge has lighter traffic, but, you know, we had an accident there, and it's more traffic than usual just because of the jam at the Poplar. That is the worst of it. Southbound 270 lines up south of Page in pockets down through 44. We've got a jam, especially on southbound Clarkson as you head for Kerrs Mill. On the interstates, 70 is slowing at Jennings Station Road, a little bit at O'Fallon and A. 64 out west, just moderate volume west of Winghaven out through the 70 split. 55 southbound jams at Bates, headed in the work zone and even a little north of there. But south of there is fine. This report brought to you by New Perspective of Weldon Spring. New Perspective is redefining senior living. They've got modern apartments, delicious meals, activities, entertainment, even a state-of-the-art AI fall detection system. Visit npseniorliving.com to schedule a tour today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk. Have you saved enough money to retire? This is a question we all ask ourselves at some point. I remember being in my 30s and thinking, all right, I'm just going to save. But then you have no plan. And suddenly you're closer to retirement and you think, okay, now what? Well, there's a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. It's just one night, and it's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. This is what they do. And they will take you through everything. Here's how to maximize your Social Security income. Here's how to reduce your taxes. And they do this for free, but they ask that you bring 3 canned goods for Crisis Nursery, St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There are a handful of openings for classes this month and next, so find out what's going on with your retirement. Register. Call 314-947-2012. That's 314-947-2012.
Are you looking for an easy way to get a daily detox? Active Liver is the easy way to get a daily detox. To keep you healthy and feeling your best, you can find Active Liver in the vitamin aisle at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050, and have a Banner day.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
A lot of people are getting their air conditioners tuned up and ready to go for the summer, and we're getting a lot of calls of people saying they want a second opinion, to have us come out and requesting us to come out there and take a look at their air conditioners. They've been told that they need a new one, and the repair is quite costly, and it might be best for them to replace the air conditioner and then repair it. If you're in that situation, please give me a call, because there is truly some opportunities here for you that we could save you lots of money, because I'm sure you're going to be shocked. We have the equipment that still works best for you with your budget. It's pretty much the best. It's what I would put in my home. It's what I would recommend. Give me a call. It's Bart Inman. One easy number, the easiest number in Missouri and Illinois. That is 314-293-2600. Or the online thing, and that is bartinman.com. That's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
to the Fox News Alert, a big day on Wall Street. I'm Lisa Lacera.
The markets right now are extremely good.
President Trump reacting after the Dow gained nearly 3,000 points. The Nasdaq up over 1,850. The S&P surged 474 after the president paused reciprocal tariffs on most trading partners for 90 days.
We brought everybody to the table, and it may not be a negotiation. It may not last. I mean, things may be asked that I think are not fair to us. Look, we've been ripped off by essentially everybody for 35 years. This is not just a new thing.
But the president is increasing the tariff rate on most products from China up to 125% after China raised tariffs on goods from the U.S. California Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna says the U.S. still ended up on the losing end.
I haven't heard one country say that we're lowering our tariffs on the United States.
But Khanna said that he does agree with the tariffs on China. President Trump has signed an executive order establishing funding for his plan to revive U.S. shipbuilding. He's also creating a security plan for Arctic trade lanes. Federal judges in Texas and New York have temporarily blocked the use of a centuries-old law to deport people in the country illegally.
The decisions come following an emergency class action filing by the ACLU Tuesday that challenged Trump administration use of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. The 5 Venezuelan plaintiffs, 3 in Texas, 2 in New York, were identified by ICE as part of the Tren de Aragua transnational gang, but their lawyers dispute the claim. The ACLU argued for class action status so that others detained and facing deportation could be covered by the legal action. Prior to the judge's decisions, federal immigration authorities sent more than 100 suspected gang members to an El Salvador prison before their deportations could be heard at a court of law.
Fox's Gernal Scott, America's listening to Fox News.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit vaxassist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
We will continue to see a couple of scattered showers and thunder showers around this afternoon, but rainfall is limited, mostly cloudy skies and warmer. Windy, 68. Tonight, slow clearing, 47. Thursday, stronger front coming in, a mix of clouds and sunshine with scattered showers and a couple of non-severe thunderstorms, 67. Will cool to 59 and sunshine on Friday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Hey, guys, I want you to head out to, well, I favorite Chesterfield because I've gotten a chance to know Matt Lawrence out there at Game Day Men's Health, and they do have a couple other locations. I can guide you in here in just a second, but I'm partial to Matt because I know him, and I've met the staff out there. He's got a great staff. One of the things as I start to talk about Game Day and some of the things that they do, there really is a difference, and there's other opportunities for you to get, for example, low testosterone treatment, TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, any of the other things that they offer at Game Day. They really do some interesting things with medical weight loss, vitamin therapy, sexual health, and erectile enhancement. It's a very professional office, very comfortable. There's a man cave environment. And, you know, I mentioned Matt, who runs that office. He brings such a passion to what they do out there. You're going to be treated like a king. You're going to be taken well care of. And, you know, when they come up with a plan for you, because this is a free testosterone test, you go in for an hour visit, make an appointment. I'll give you the website here in just a second. And they'll have a plan for you within like 20 minutes, a game plan for achieving your health goals and objectives. There's no contracts. These are customized treatment plans. They're going to monitor this. You don't have to keep going to another facility to get lab work done. They're going to do it there. All the medicine and supplies, the pricing is very simple, so they're not going to add extra charges or fees. Some of the other places do that. So you're going to be happy with just the way you're treated, especially maybe if you've been to some competitors. 3 locations. They're in Chesterfield, right by Highway 40 and Clarkson Road, but there's also a game day location in O'Fallon, Missouri, and in Glen Carbon, Illinois. Get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health at GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game, it's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family's summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Hey, it's Annie with my friend Stewie, and Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan gets you your mortgage or your refinance at no closing costs. And I have Stewie with me right now. You're all about saving people money. Fiscal responsibility is really in right now, and you've got something up your sleeve for these folks.
You know what, Annie? Some people like to get better cash flow. Other people just want to pay off all their debt. So we're going to do something very, very unique. In Scotland, it was traditional to paint the door red once you paid off your mortgage. So we're going to give you the Red Bagel Challenge. If you refinance with us and you consolidate your debt and you get your mortgage paid off in half the period of time remaining, we're going to give you a $1,000 bonus at the end of that term.
Well, Stewie's all about helping you build your wealth and build equity, and the Bagel Loan is another way to do it. Remember, no closing costs with the Bagel Loan. Reach out to Stewie directly with 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. You can Google Bagel Loan for more information, NMLS number 226715.
You never got a sense of how big the community was until we all pour into this auditorium. 4,000 or 5,000 people, and we're all here for the same reason. Real estate investing, you living the lifestyle.
That's April on her Expo Experience. It's coming again. Join Del Walmsley and Lifestyles Unlimited for Expo 2025, May 7th through the 10th in Irving, Texas. Get hands-on training from successful real estate investors and learn proven strategies that work. Find out more and save $100 when you text EXPO to 88007, EXPO to 88007.
97.1 FM Talk is proudly supporting the Guns N' Hoses Queen of Hearts raffle, benefiting the St. Louis Backstoppers. Learn more at stlgunsandhoses.com and listen to the Mark Cox Morning Show Fridays at 8:20 for winner announcements. This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. Lighting it up. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we have our final stop on our fish fry tour coming up this Friday in Millstone, Illinois at Ott's Tavern. We're going to have a lot of fun on Friday afternoon. The Roundtable will be there live, Sue's News live, the whole team, Fred. I think Ethan's going to be stuck here again because we need him to take care of stuff here on the board since I'm not going to be here. But Fred and Sue will be there. Jane Duker on the panel. Former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch will be on the Roundtable on Friday. And current State Rep Steve Butts. As happy as I am that, and we're going to get back into some of this here at the bottom of the hour, that Kara Spencer won this race in St. Louis, and Tashara is no longer going to be a problem here in St. Louis. I will say this, I kind of wish Steve Butts would have got into that race because he's not crazy like Kara. He deferred to Kara. He was going to get into the race if she decided not to run, and I think it would have been a great choice and maybe someone who would be a little bit more focused on the business community. But we are left with another progressive, and I do have hopes that she's going to tend to some of the basics in the city at the very least. But we'll talk a little bit more about that with Jeff Smith at the bottom of the hour. Here's a soundbite from President Trump that kind of plays into my next guess. He's talking about the tariffs last night.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir.
You know, sometimes stuff like that drives people, certainly on the other side, nuts. Maybe even people who voted for Trump because they don't like his behavior sometimes. Of course, I'd flagged that in the past. I was someone that had said, you know, he didn't act presidential, but he takes a little getting used to. And the negotiation style and the communication style is something that's very unique, we know, to this president. Adam Ellwanger is with us. He is a professor of English at the University of Houston, but also is doing a series for Real Clear Politics on this particular issue of Trump communication. Adam, welcome back. How are you? Welcome to 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you again, Mark.
You know, as I admitted, I think that I was one of those people years ago that would say, you know, why does he have to do this? Why does he have to act this way on Twitter? He's not presidential. Took me a little while to get comfortable with the style. Mostly, I did kind of even make a point back then that Trump is misinterpreted a lot because he's using humor in many cases and people take him literal. But you've decided to do a whole series on this issue.
Yeah, with John Waters, who's a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security in the first administration. The basic premise to the series that we're writing for Real Clear Politics is that any man who has completed the greatest political comeback in the history of this nation obviously has some skill and political ability. And the way that he has been treated, in particular by the media, is as though he's an idiot. He knows nothing about communication. And the premise of the series is really, what if we assumed that the president isn't a moron and tried to understand the general theory of communication rather than dismissing it out of hand?
And you really have to go back, and I've never read the book, but one thing I remember in the early days of the Trump administration, and I think this happens even now, and maybe this week is a perfect example of this, a lot of this goes back to The Art of the Deal in the 80s, right?
Yes, absolutely. The piece that we put out this week sort of addresses the art of the deal as a template, a window into the then future president's understanding of how persuasion works. It's really remarkable the extent to which that book has been ignored. People on the other side dismiss it and say, oh, it was ghostwritten, blah, blah, blah. But we've never really had another president write a book about negotiation and communication specifically before they were presidents. You know, others have written about the presidency and its demands after their term is complete, and those books have received lots of attention. Barack Obama's books from before he was president have received enormous attention from scholars and pundits alike. But people have more or less written off Art of the Deal as if it's inconsequential. It's really a critical text for understanding sort of the method to Trump's madness.
And the first rule, as you illustrate in your piece, the first lesson of the book is that for Trump, any deal that doesn't redound to the distinct advantage of the deal maker is a failure, because that's then a deal in name only. And, you know, you start thinking about that in, you know, context of what's happening with all these trade agreements right now.
Absolutely. You know, the dominant mindset, I think, of the political class for at least 30 years now has been that a good deal is one that benefits both parties, and where we find consensus, where we are conciliatory, and everybody wins. That is not Trump's philosophy. Trump's philosophy is we need to win. And we should get the better end of deals. And because of the leverage that this nation brings to the table with its economy, with its enormous military power, everything else, we are in a position to get the better end of these deals. Why settle for less?
So how do you, let's go back to the way that this is ignored, because I do think it's interesting that you don't have, with many of these political candidates, you can't go back. I mean, you can go back and look at what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz may have said, or maybe they wrote it somewhere, but you don't have something that is that definitive like Art of the Deal, right? So why, I guess it's just because it's Trump. Why has that not been emphasized more in just the political discourse? Because they just ignore him and they write him off, and the media is so biased because they think he's, all trouble, right? He's a Nazi. I guess that's the latest tag, is he's a Nazi.
I think that a big reason that this really important text has been ignored is they need the public to believe that there's no method here, because that that allows them to convince regular Americans that they should be anxious, that there's no strategy involved. And so it's not that they don't realize that this is an important text. It's that they don't want Americans to realize that there's a theory here, that there is a strategy here. And despite the bluster, right, the proof is in the pudding. And Trump's been winning for 4 years, you know.
Well, yeah, 8 at this point, really. If you take the election out from 2020, I mean, when you just look at the communication, then I'd say that 6 of those 8 years, I think he's done pretty well. What is it when he refers to, or you refer to, controlled neurosis, Adam? What is that about?
Trump describes in Art of the Deal how he approaches his emotional state when he approaches deals, and he describes it as a controlled neurosis, which should be enough. It should be catnip for the people who want to attack him, because obviously the negative connotations of neurosis. But what he means by it is kind of a single-minded drive, you know, a will and ambition to push until you are in the advantageous position in the deal. And again, I think that's what we've seen this week, right? We've seen I think that I might be wrong, but what I've read is that today was the biggest gain in the Dow Jones Industrial Average ever.
It was a pretty big day, yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's not to understate the losses, but this is how deal making works, is that, you know, you demonstrate that you are willing to leverage your position, and then you get a different response from the people you're negotiating with.
Well, and I think that, and I think you wrote about this, Adam, but much of that was also true in that just blockbuster meeting with Zelensky that day in the Oval Office.
Yeah, and that's the sort of exchange that that you really need to read The Art of the Deal to completely understand. To sort of untrained eye, you think, oh my gosh, what's going on here? But Trump talks about the role of desperation in negotiation, and how desperation is always going to undermine your position in relation to a deal. Is telling that Trump was willing to let Zelensky leave without a deal, right? He says, Trump's words are that when they can smell desperation, they smell blood in the water, and you're dead in negotiation immediately. And again, we saw the results in the speech to the joint session of Congress. The president noted that Zelensky had written him only days later. It said Ukraine is eager to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible.
So I played this last hour, Adam, but I have to play it again because what I said at the time is this is a perfect encapsulation of Trump in sort of what he does with communication. I think you're going to agree here. So this was earlier today. He was signing some executive orders, and this one was on water pressure. As you probably well know, the president's talked a lot about water pressure in the past, but check this out.
You don't get water. It's ridiculous.
So with this executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real deal shower head, they should have the ability to.
So that last part there, because they don't, nobody wants one. I love that. But what that whole soundbite, the way it plays out is he talks about how, you know, it takes you so long to wash your hands. Well, it really doesn't, Adam. We know that. But in The Art of the Deal, he talks about bravado, right? He says, I play to people's fantasies. That's why a little hyperbole never hurts. I call it truthful hyperbole. It's an innocent form of exaggeration and a very effective form of promotion. I think he nails it there. The problem is that the people interpreting his hyperbole take everything literally, as we've indicated.
Yeah, exactly. I think that truthful hyperbole, you know, the fact that the president almost 40 years ago came out and said that this is a guiding principle to his communication, you know, that shows the transparency that he's not trying to manipulate. You know, somebody who wants to manipulate you with hyperbole wouldn't tell you that they're being hyperbolic all the time. And it's not that Trump's critics don't understand this again. It's that they need to misrepresent this. And so, you know, they take everything that Trump says literally because it redounds to their advantage and sort of fomenting public anxiety in opposition to the president's agenda.
So I think that one of the things you wrote here really sums up a lot about where, you know, the president got his support for this election in the fall and where he continues to have a lot of support. He says that being conciliatory doesn't really work. And in his mindset, it makes it incomprehensible. He sees that it is cost for Americans, and he's tired of us coming out on the losing end. Trump knows that most people think small because most people are afraid of success, afraid of making decisions, afraid of winning, and that gives people like me a great advantage. I want to kind of go to the point about a cost for Americans because, look, I believe that. I believe, and I think a lot of Americans, look, the retail politics he did, getting on the trash truck, going to the McDonald's, he has this amazing ability to really make it relatable to everyday Americans. I talked about going to my Walmart in High Ridge, Missouri in the last hour. Those are the folks that can't relate with a lot of the things that are happening with the elites that are happening on Wall Street. But they can relate with a guy, even though he's a multi-billionaire, that goes to McDonald's and rides on a trash truck. It's kind of amazing.
It is amazing. And, I think that this is one of the great paradoxes of Trump's mystique is the man who eats McDonald's for lunch and uses a gold toilet. There's a great mystery here. And I think that it does resonate with average Americans. It's also a way to signal the president's honesty, right? Nobody's ever accused Donald Trump of not saying what he really thought. And whether you agree or disagree with what he says or how he says it, at least you could say, he doesn't obfuscate. He doesn't hide his thoughts from the public. And that's a gesture of transparency, that the Americans have been clamoring for.
Well, and even though I in the past have been a critic of Trump, one of the things that I was always never critical of is the very fine people comment, because that was so mangled and so misinterpreted and lied about constantly lied about. So a lot of times what he says is just ignored because they don't want to admit that he's telling the truth. It gets very, very confusing. But Adam, when does the series take place in Real Clear? Is it already started? Was that kind of part one or not?
Well, that was kind of a prologue that was published a little belatedly. So it's already begun. I think we've got 2 or 3 that are already out there. We hope to have one forthcoming on tariffs, and the installments aren't really scheduled on a regular basis. Rather, we're watching developments, and as we see a unique and illustrative example of his communications, well, then we'll be there. We'll be at Real Clear Politics, and you can see us at sites that pick up their material too.
I don't think you're going to be, hurting for material. That's just my guess here. My guess. Adam, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If I've never said this to you before, because you're down in Houston, you must go to the Heights and visit a restaurant called Squabble, because my son works there and it is outstanding. One of the better restaurants in all of Houston.
Well, I'll be there soon then. I didn't know that. We'll definitely check it out. We don't live too far.
James Beard nominated, and my son Evan lives down there and helps run that place. So thanks, Adam. I appreciate it.
Great.
All
Good
right.
to talk to you. Thanks.
Take care. Let me get this in before we have to break, and we're going to talk about more stuff with the city with Jeff Smith. But as we indicated with Adam there, it was quite the day on Wall Street. Now, again, a lot of this was a recovery from what happened earlier in the week, but the Dow was up 2,962 points, 7.8%. So big day on Wall Street, but Adam Schiff thinks he's got something here because he's now going after Trump for insider trading. So listen to this.
How concerned are you with this market fluctuation? And are you concerned that there could be members of the White House that are benefiting from it?
Absolutely. I'm writing to the White House to demand who knew in advance that the president was going to once again flip-flop on tariffs, and are people cashing in? There is just all too much opportunity for people in the White House and the administration to be insider trading, and you can't put it past them for a minute. So we're going to try to find out.
All right. So keep in mind that, and this is what's just sickening, is, he's a senator now from California.
It's just disgusting.
Right. So one more here, but I have something I wanted to tie this in with something related to Trump that you're going to like, but one more with Shifty Schiff here.
There's a good chance they'll just ignore you, though, right? Should there be some other independent investigation into this?
Well, I think Congress should do an investigation into this, but we're going to demand answers from the administration. I think you're right. They're likely to stonewall, particularly if they've been engaged in corrupt insider trading. But they won't be able to hide it for good.
All right, whatever. The only reason I really wanted to play that is because I wanted to play the next soundbite. And I've never heard this before, but I like it. I like it a lot. So last night, Trump was talking about this guy, Adam Schiff.
Adam Shifty Schiffs. Can you believe this guy? He's got the smallest neck I've ever seen.
and the biggest head. We called him Watermelon Head. I'd say, how could that big fat face stand on a neck that looked like this finger? How can it? It was the weirdest thing. It's a mystery. Nobody can understand it. But he's one of the most dishonest human beings I've ever seen. And, you know, how we can allow people like that to run an office is a shame, but we did.
I just like that he calls him Watermelon Head, and I'd never heard that before. But I'm calling him Watermelon Head from here on out. Jeff Smith coming up next. We'll talk about the big victory for Kara Spencer, the future of the city of St. Louis.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Illinois drivers, I am so sorry. It's just a mess trying to get there. We've got that ongoing emergency road repair eastbound 5564 on the Poplar Street Bridge through East St. Louis with a couple of lanes down. Parking lot jam on eastbound 6440 that's well past Jefferson. 44 is almost at Kings Highway. That's how far the jam is. And any bridge is jammed. I mean, just getting to the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge, our own Brad Range is trying that. And the city streets are jammed trying to even get to that bridge, which has extra volume tonight. If you can make it to the McKinley Bridge, it looks okay. Southbound 55 slowing south of Arsenal down through Bates, through the construction zone there. To the south, there was some moderate volume in Herculaneum, but it's not bad. 141 has been reopened early under 44, so that's helping for 44 drivers. We've got southbound 270, moderate volume, Olive, down through Doherty Ferry. Now we've got a jam eastbound 64, east of 94, and we've also got road work eastbound on the Boone Bridge causing delays. Westbound slows at Highway N. This report brought to you by Gloria Liu. Planning to sell your home? Work with the very best. Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Will guaranteed to sell your home at your price or she will buy it. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk.
Brought to you by Volley.
Volley.
Level up game night with Volley, the smart TV app for playing games like Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, or test your knowledge with fun music quizzes and party games. Turn your TV into the ultimate game hub with the Volley app on your Roku or Fire TV. Download it and play today.
Volley.
I think we're at 2 weeks tomorrow where Freddie from Zero Res was in my home doing a big clean of the carpets. He had an easy gig compared to the other techs because since the last visit from Zero Res, we have a couple of different areas, 3 different spots that have hard flooring in them from Michael's Flooring Outlet. But it just feels so good to walk into a home that really is clean. You know, you go into some people's homes, probably even my home, it smells like dogs. We have dogs, we have cats, we have a bunny. You want to make sure you keep your home clean. And maybe not only the carpets, the upholstery, the area rugs, but let's address the air ducts because you got a lot of gunk coming out of those. Springtime is a time for renewal. Let's do the carpets and maybe the ductwork at the same time, and you get a great offer if you mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk when you call Zero Res. They have crews that can get you on the schedule very, very quickly. 314-474-2020. The offer for the month of April, 3 rooms starting at $119, $75 off your air duct cleaning package with professional cleaners that are fast, friendly, and they'll explain everything they do and take great care of you. They'll leave you with the 30-day gotta love it guarantee. ZeroResSTL.com, 314-474-2020. You spell it backward or forward. It spells the same. Zero Res.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
This could be the #1 tax saving strategy for your retirement savings, and it's hidden inside IRS tax code section 1.408A-4. Discover what it is and how you can make your money go further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by advisors advisors from financial and tax architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis, and you'll learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing Social Security, paying for health care, and more. And they do it for free, but bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There are a few openings left for classes this month, so register now by calling 314-947-2012, 314-947-2012. That's 314-947-2012.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And at 5:30, this portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
97.1 FM Talk presents Talk in Action, where we shine a spotlight on local charities making a difference in our community. Join us as we give back and connect neighbors in need. Visit 971talk.com/talkinaction to learn more. You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, remember Black Girl Magic? Well, poof, it's all gone. Yeah, Steve Miller was appropriate for this because Tashara Jones will no longer be the mayor of St. Louis. I'll get to that here in just a moment. I want to mention that the Masters gets underway at Augusta tomorrow, and Dan Reardon, no relation, will join us. He is heading down there. I don't think he's down there yet, but we'll get a preview here in just a few minutes. So here is Tish last night after the blowout loss.
This campaign was powered by the people and was a movement of people. I'm so proud to have run this race because I ran it not for me, but for you.
Well, if it was a movement for the people, there were a whole lot of people involved because she had very little support in either the first election or the runoff. I mean, the writing was certainly on the wall. It turned out the way that many had hoped. Now I'm under no, delusion that Kara Spencer is going to come in and right the ship right away. She's got a big challenge in front of her. Plus, she's still very progressive, and I don't know where the priorities are going to be. But let's talk to another progressive. A friend of the roundtable, former State Senator Jeff Smith is here. He is currently the executive director of the Missouri Workforce Housing Association. Jeff, how are you this afternoon?
Pretty good. In the middle of a Senate filibuster under the dome in Jeff City.
Are you really? Who's doing the filibuster?
There's like 5 or 6 senators that are kind of jointly delaying a bill.
What was the bill? Do I care?
It is a bill that would change the regulations around cannabis and hemp in the state.
Yeah. Wow.
And kind of put the any hemp manufacturing or hemp distribution or retailing under the kind of umbrella of the cannabis operation.
All right. So what you? I mean, obviously. We knew this was going to happen, at least for the most part. We knew it was going to happen. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the results because it was a blowout, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was more pronounced than most people anticipated it would be. I think it was overwhelming. And I think that's, pretty much a mandate for a change in the approach to city government. To me, it was just kind of a signal that the average voter in St. Louis City is kind of done with grand ideological visions and more interested in kind of the basics of day-to-day governance and service delivery. There's just been a mounting frustration in the last few years with lots of little things, and those little things added up and then culminated in the city's response to the snowstorm a couple months ago, and that was really the straw that broke the camel's back. I think had that not happened, it would have been a closer race. I still think, Spencer probably would have won, but that really was, I think, what helped all those fears and all those concerns crystallize. And that's what put Kara in such a good position the last few weeks.
From a broader political perspective, I firmly believe that this should be a national story. What's happened here in St. Louis? Cori Bush gone, Kim Gardner gone, now Tashara. Black Girl Magic. It's poof. It's gone right now. It's a pretty big. This is an epic collapse in a city that has a lot of challenges, where you had all these progressives that come to the table in the aftermath of the pandemic and George Floyd, and people have just had enough of them right now.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put it in those racial terms, even though sometimes the supporters did use that hashtag. And so I wouldn't say it was a repudiation of Black women. I do think it was a repudiation of, a certain style of governance that was more focused on, things that didn't really involve people's day-to-day lives for the average voter. And I think people just want government to work. When you're an executive of a city, you can't be focused on making grand statements about what's happening in Gaza. You shouldn't be, super focused on let's put $1 million for Uber rides for people who want to exercise their reproductive freedom in other states.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I support access to abortion 100%. But I'm not sure that that's kind of was a priority of like the typical city voter when they felt like their 911 calls weren't getting picked up, when they felt like their trash wasn't getting picked up, when they felt like the snow wasn't getting picked up, right? Those are pressing concerns to the average voter. And I think some of the people, whether it was defund the police or abolish ICE or abolish all, jails, there were some, people around some of the officials who lost that were saying things that were just out of the mainstream of American political life. And yeah, St. Louis City is more liberal than the state of Missouri, but it's not as liberal as some of those positions that I just referenced.
So I don't know. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Complete your thought there. Well, all I was going to say is I don't know Kara Spencer that well. I've only met her a couple of times. She was here on the roundtable one time. She never got invited back to the roundtable for this particular reason. She's not focused at all on the national issues, kind of to the point you were just making. I don't see her going out there and trying to make some big national political point just because she's in this office. Now, I might be wrong, and there's pressure once you get in a position like this, but she's kind of a policy wonk. You tell me if you're, have different opinions of this. She's hyper-focused on St. Louis. Now, I've had people tell me she's a bit of a micromanager. That's not going to help her, but what would your expectations be here of the next mayor?
I think your read is right. And I think, you've asked me for help getting other Democrats to come on the roundtable and put up with your crap.
Yes, I have.
And there have been a few false starts because there have been times when I've suggested people and then you said to me, oh my God, they were nuts. I can't have them on again. And you're not saying that about the mayor-elect. What you're saying is she is hyper-focused on local issues. She is hyper-focused on the details of governance and management. And I think that's a good thing.
Yes.
I find that refreshing. I don't elect a mayor. I live in the city, and I don't want to vote for a mayor based on their foreign policy positions. I want to vote for a mayor that's going to appoint good people to run city departments and city institutions, whether it's trash, or forestry or the jail, or the street department.
Right.
Those are the things that make a difference in my day-to-day experience living. And, I have other criteria for how I vote for U.S. Senator, so I don't really need people talking about those issues. And so I think that kind of what you just said about her is why the median voter in St. Louis City gravitated towards her, because they sense that she is maybe a little bit of a person who's going to say, hey, I want to know exactly how things are working in that department. It's a little pejorative to call that micromanagement, but having a kind of focus on the details of how government works or
that's
doesn't
a good
work.
thing. That's not a bad thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't want to minimize the other election result in the city. Donna Behringer joined us at the beginning of the show. She, of course, also a Reardon Roundtable veteran, Jeff. But that was a big victory, knocking out someone who was an incumbent for 30 years here in St. Louis, Darlene Green. A lot of power in that office, and Donna worked very hard to get this victory. You got to give her a lot of credit.
Absolutely. It's good to see roundtable panelists succeeding after, after the longtime roundtable jinx when people were losing and going to prison and all this other stuff, all your panelists and now they're finally winning. So,
I did tell her, though, to your point, I said, look, there's two paths that the Reardon Roundtable participants take. It's either federal prison or they go like to Schmidt and they go to bigger things like Donna. So you've kind of done both, if we're being fair, right? Sometimes you can do everything. All right, Smith, well, back to your filibuster. Thank you for the insight this afternoon. I do think it offers some renewed hope. Look, there's big challenges, as you know. I don't know where any kind of economic engine for the city is going to come from, but hopefully Kara can get some people on the same page. I'm going to have Steve Ellman on tomorrow talking about some stuff in St. Charles. I think there's going to be a better approach to people working together. Now, if we could just get rid of your guy, King Page, we'd maybe be on the same page here in the region.
I think Sam Page is not the most electric personality in politics, but he's got a good heart, and he also is somebody who cares.
You're breaking up. Give me a break. Come on.
And he also
Are you the
does
one
care
guy
about,
that he has as an
management of
ally?
government.
Who's his ally? You're the ally now. Who else is on his side? Not even as members of the county council, although the Proposition B thing went down. What did you think of that, by the way? Did you think that was a bad idea?
I think the voters got it right. If you're going to elect somebody to be county executive, then give them a chance to appoint the people they want to run the county. If they don't like it, then they can vote them out next year.
Yeah, I voted for it, but I had some second thoughts about it as well. All right, Smith, thank you so much. We'll see you on the roundtable soon.
See you, buddy.
That is former State Senator Jeff Smith, who's with us on the roundtable on a regular basis. And yeah, the joke there for those people who don't know. I mean, when I do the math, we haven't really mentioned this in a while. If you go the last 16, 17 years, let me think about this. I've done this since about 2008, the Reardon Roundtable. Started on KMOX and then took it over here. And we had, I'm not forgetting names, but I think the final count was we got Steve Stanger, Jeff Smith, Jeffrey Boyd, Lewis Reed. There was one other, too. There's 5 people that have been on the roundtable who have gone to federal prison stints. I think they're all out at this point. I don't think anyone's in the Hooskow right now. But that was kind of our track record. But then you have examples of someone like Senator Schmidt, who was also, he had some humble beginnings on the Friday Reardon Roundtable. Look where he's been at this point. On the mayor's race, let me go back to just a little more audio here, because this is something that's going to make you laugh hysterically. This is what Tish said last night about crime.
So my opponent will inherit a city that is safer than it has been in decades.
Ain't that great?
Yeah, I don't know where she gets that, but she was pretty defiant last night. I don't think she did anything too crazy, which I was a little disappointed in. Her father did discontinue his Twitter account, which is rather hilarious. I mean, I don't even know how he could activate on Twitter or be active on Twitter. He blocked half the people out there. Blocked me, blocked Jane. He blocked everyone really that's been on the roundtable, so that'll be fun to talk about on Friday. But here's Kara last night.
Today, St. Louis voted for change.
Thank goodness for that. Her priorities?
A better delivery of city services that our residents and our businesses rely on. All right, am I right? But this campaign, this election was about so much more than potholes and trash. It was built on the idea that we can build a downtown that we can our region, the St. Louis region, can be proud of.
Well, let's hope that
I hope
that's
that
going to
happens.
happen.
Yeah.
And, I'm a little nervous just because the challenge is so great, and I don't know enough about Kara and her priorities to not be worried that some of this stuff is going to go in an uncomfortable direction. But even let's just say, even if you can get control of some of the things with basic services. I was telling you about this dinner that I had last week with some folks that are pretty insightful. Rainford was there as well. I don't want to speak out of turn, but some of the stuff was off the record. But they were tossing out some figures and some personnel numbers from the streets department, for example, which were just outrageous.
You mean how low the staff is?
Like,
oh, yeah.
Well, of course, the person that she appointed to that, pretty much a DEI hire, and even there's no, I can't remember exactly the stat, but there's no actual engineers in the streets department.
Oh my gosh.
Things that you would think would be automatic. Now, you're going to have to come up with a way outside of sending money reparations to pay people a little bit more, because you have people, we were talking about, economic development. What kind of people do you need on an economic development team? Typically, not that this makes them better, but let's face it, typically it's people with MBAs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not going to make work for $80,000 in the city of St. Louis, right?
No.
They're making twice that if they go somewhere else. So there's an issue with, attracting talent. I don't know what kind of team Kara Spencer will put together, because I'm not as familiar with that side of politics. Jane and the team on Friday will be able to break that down, but you got to get good people in here.
Hopefully.
They're going to make an effort to not make everything. Wouldn't it be nice to just not make everything about the race card?
Yes.
Even if we could just somehow achieve that, it would be amazing. But in the meantime, all that black girl magic has disappeared for now. Audio cut of the day is coming up.
Follow Mark on Twitter at Mark Reardon KFTK and Instagram at Mark Talk. You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We'll start up north on eastbound 270, where there is some volume between the chain of rocks and canal bridges. There is road work going on. The worst of it is downtown. We've got extra volume on the approaches and all of the bridges, at least the ones I can see, which is the Poplar Street Bridge and the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge and the McKinley Bridge. The McKinley looks okay right now. But 44 is jammed almost to Kings Highway, headed for 55 to get to the bridge. 40 itself is back past Jefferson, and I mean it's a parking lot. This is all due to road work eastbound 5564 on the bridge itself. So it will take you a while to get into Illinois. Now, we've got good news out west. They've opened 141 under 44 in both directions. 44 westbound, a little slow at 270. Eastbound 64 jams up at the Boone Bridge. We've got road work there. Westbound 70 is fine out of downtown. And 64 out west, it's mainly moderate volume at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. This report is brought to you by Gloria Liu. Gloria Liu, if you're planning to sell your home, work with the very best. Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty will guarantee to sell your home at your price or she'll buy it. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I was in my yard this morning getting the grass cut. You know, with all the warmer spring weather, you're in the yard, you're looking at your house, you're looking at the siding, you're thinking, I need to do something about that. You can do it with the help of Banner Construction. They're booking appointments right now. If you would like to be first in line for beautiful James Hardy fiber cement siding. What the heck is that, by the way? We talk about it all the time. Go online to bannerconstruction.com. It's a great product that mimics wood, doesn't warp like wood, fade like wood. It's beautiful. Comes in a variety of textures, colors, and styles. And the team at Banner can tie it all together. They can also guide you into some beautiful replacement windows from Pella as well. So if you've never seen either of those products, you want to feel and touch the James Hardy fiber cement siding, they'll bring it to your home. You want to see these Pella windows. They're beautiful from the inside and out. They can make that happen as well. Beat the price increases. Book your renovation project now. At the very least, schedule a free in-home design and estimate with Banner Construction. You can do it by calling 314-569-1050 or the website bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
What's your favorite four-letter word? Chances are you've said it more than a few times dealing with this crazy world we live in. But at Compass Retirement Solutions, our four-letter word of choice is hope. Hope for a better tomorrow. And hope that your retirement plans don't take a back seat. You've watched inflation soar, and maybe your retirement future feels a little uncertain right now. But all hope is not lost. Find out exactly how much risk you're still taking with your investments. Find out how you may be able to save big on taxes. And find out how having a written retirement plan just might give you the hope you've been looking for. Call today to set up a meeting. 314-373-1598. That's 314-373-1598. Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services but does not provide tax advice. Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory firm in Missouri and Illinois. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Clint Black in concert. Clint Black, an incredible night featuring some of his greatest hits. This Saturday, 7 p.m., the Family Arena. Clint Black in concert. Special guests Ruby Lee and Emily Ann Roberts. On sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Clint Black.
It's the greatest pop rock of the 60s and 70s. The Happy Together Tour 2025 with the Turtles, Jay and the Americans, Little Anthony, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, the Vogues, and the Cowsills. August 21st, the Family Arena. Reserve seats on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Thursday, can we beat low voter turnout by moving these April elections to November? We'll talk to Senator Nick Schroer at 7:35.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk. You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
90-day pause on many of the tariffs led to a record-breaking down Wall Street, of course, making up for a lot of the losses as well. But we'll highlight that in audio cut of the day. But it's Masters weekend. It starts tomorrow down at Augusta. Dan Reardon will be there. No relation, as we like to say. Same spelling. But, Dan, you're heading down tomorrow, aren't you? How are you?
I'm doing fine, Mark. And yeah, traditionally when I've worked this tournament, I had a full-time job, and taking off on Wednesday was not necessarily in my schedule. So I've just sort of maintained that I'll work the 4 tournament days, and maybe sometime in the future, if I'm still doing this, try to throw. I've never been to the par 3 tournament.
Oh, really? That would be.
Nope.
And how did that go, bud? That was today, or was that yesterday?
That was today. Echeverria won it. There were 3 holes in one. Keegan Bradley, Brooks Koepka, and I don't remember who the third one was, but it went very well. And you've got a younger generation of players now. So there was Jordan Spieth with his young child out there, and there was Rory with his daughter out there. So it has a whole new feel to it these days.
Dan, before we get into maybe a preview, a handicapping of the tournament itself, just kind of talk about this setting down there and how different Augusta is, how different the Masters is even from other PGA events.
Well, because it's a major, first of all, and it's the only major played on the same venue every year. And then the club itself has a mystique about it, and they have earned that mystique. They've preserved a lot of things. I told somebody, we did the pre-tournament show a year ago, and you asked me the question, what do I look forward to? And I realized afterwards, and this applies not just to me, this applies to the players, this applies to the spectators, everybody. Once you go in the gates at Augusta on Thursday or whatever day it is, until you leave for the last time, you're experiencing a world that you would like to live in. And I'm not talking about flowers and green grass and all those kinds of things. You're just treated like you're special as a human being. Nobody is really given a lot more privilege than the others. And so when you leave at that period of time, you think, geez, I'd like to live in that world. And unfortunately, we can't these days.
Even if I remember correctly, they don't allow cell phones at the Masters. Like, even the media people, you can't have cell phones, right?
I can have a cell phone, but I can't take it out of the media building. And if you're going through the gates as a patron or a spectator, they have a check stand for you. But there's, like I said, you could go on and on. I just saw somebody write the article about. They quoted the stat as $140 was what the 4-day badge was, and I find that hard to believe, given the fact that this year's Ryder Cup is $700 a day to go to the Ryder Cup. That's just Augusta. They just have a different approach to life, and they can say no to anybody. As we know, a few years ago when they were being boycotted by the women because they didn't have a woman member at that time, they said, that's okay. We'll just cancel all our sponsors and we'll just sponsor the whole telecast ourselves.
Yeah, look at that. All right, well, listen, I don't have a lot of time left, so 60 seconds, handicap the field. Who's coming in hot right now? Rory's looking for this 5th major.
All the talk is about Rory and, of course, Scheffler, who's won 2 of the last 3. Rory comes in off a win at the Players' Championship, has won twice this year, probably has the most going for him, also has the most pressure, 10 years, 11 years without a major championship. A lot of things going there. Scheffler got off to a late start because of the cut hand. He's not affected by an injury there, but his rhythm, his timing has been thrown off. Xander Schauffele is not being talked about, sort of surprisingly, since 2 of the last 3 majors that were played in golf were won by Xander Schauffele, and he's got a great record. He's got 4 top 10s at the Masters. I like Bryson DeChambeau as a name you want to look at because we don't know anything about the guys on LIV, and Bryson showed up at the Pinehurst and won the U.S. Open Championship. And we discovered not only a great player who's changed the way that he handles things, but as a guy that really fits what the game needs. He is the star of the game right now because he has captured an audience under 30, and his YouTube stuff is really well done.
Oh, it's really well done. I watch it all the time. So thank you, Dan, for the update. We're going to get some leaderboard updates here over the course of the next couple of days. Also, I heard, and this is somewhat unusual because, as you've reported in the past, the weather can play a big role, but the weather's supposed to be pretty nice over those 4 days, right?
It has, and I thought the rain on Monday would echo through the week, but I've read through the interviews of the players the last couple of days. They think the course is in really good condition. They're mostly relieved that they don't have mud to deal with. They'll handle a wet golf course. They just don't want mud. And there is a chance of rain on Friday afternoon. It'll be a little cooler than players want in the morning, but the weather will be good.
Have a great trip. We'll talk tomorrow afternoon. Got to get to this. Thank you, Dan.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Big rally on Wall Street. Huge today. All the markets up significantly because of a 90-day pause on the tariffs. Here's President Trump.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know. They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents. They wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, you know, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable.
You heard him mention champions. He was there at the Oval Office with NASCAR champions today. So there you
Wow.
go. We'll talk tomorrow at 3. We'll see where that market is tomorrow. Sue, have a great night.
You too.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Most of it continues to be the Illinois side, just trying to get there. 44 is jammed, and it's now not back as far as Kings Highway, but darn close. So that's a mess headed for the Poplar. So is 6440. It's lined up approaching Jefferson, all due to road work on the bridge. And that has put extra volume on the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge, which is heavy and slow. And eastbound 70 just slowing headed into downtown. So Illinois drivers, ugh. And even eastbound 270 is slow between the Chain of Rocks and Canal bridges. Out west, 70 looks fine. But 64 eastbound lines up. There's road work in the left lane near the Boone Bridge. Westbound, a little bit slow at the 70 split. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
While you might not give a hoot about this week's space launch, you sure as sunshine care when your AC goes down. Well, good news, a Jerry Kelly per-producing tune-up is just 98 smackers right this very moment. $98.
JerryKelly.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert.